The Giants have won the toss, and so the Eagles will kick off. They will move from our right to our left. The Eagles in their visiting uniforms, their silver pants, white jerseys with green helmets and green numerals. Doug Kotar will be one of the Giants' deep men. He will await the kickoff of Nick Mickemeyer to the near side, and to the far side is Bob Hammond. A special welcome today to our listeners on the American Forces Radio Network. Today's broadcast is being carried by over 500 stations throughout the world. We hope you enjoy the game. Mickemeyer approaches the football. He kicks it, and the game is underway. It is Hammond taking it a yard deep, running it out to the 5, cuts inside at the 10, spins away at the 15, and goes down at the 16 under a hit by Eric Johnson. So the Giants will take over first and 10, the ball at their own 16-yard line, and that is the kind of coverage, Jim, that the Eagles kickoff team wants.
Cleveland Franklin, who is rated week after week as the most consistent special teams player, did a great job that time breaking the Giant wedge all apart and enabled his buddies to come in and make the stop.
Giants lining up with Joe Pizarchik. He's the quarterback. Bob Hammond and Larry Zonka, the running backs. To the far side goes Johnny Perkins. To the near side, Jimmy Robinson. First down. Here is the first offensive play of the game. Perkins. Now it's Pizarchik firing out to Perkins in the left flat. He picks up maybe a yard or two and goes down, and there is a flag immediately on the play as Ray Phillips makes the stop.
Doug Van Horn, the offensive guard, a little late in getting to the screen out there and was called for clipping. No matter, the Eagle coverage was excellent, and the clip was totally a waste of time and effort by Van Horn, but it's going to cost the Giants 10 yards, and the Eagles are going to take the penalty.
It's interesting how these pro football games bring many close friends together, very often on opposite sides of the line. Johnny Perkins out of Abilene Christian was the college best friend of the Eagles, Wilbert Montgomery, who is back in the lineup today and looking for big things from Wilbert. Now Emery Moorhead comes in the game, and Jimmy Robinson comes out for the Giants. A lot of interesting games all around the league. Now they are taking a timeout momentarily before they step off the penalty, and now they do step it off. For the Giants, their rushers, their leading running back is Bob Hammond. He has carried the ball 110 times this season for 478 yards. He's averaging 4.3 a carry. Kotar is next in line as far as average is concerned, 4.8, and Larry Zonka 3.4. Now the Giants will have a first down and 17 to go after that penalty yardage stepped off because of the clipping penalty. Moorhead lines up to the near side. Out to the far side is Johnny Perkins. The back shift out of an open set, and they move into the eye. As Pizarchik looks over the Eagles' defense. In motion to the far side goes Moorhead. The handoff is inside to Bob Hammond, and he is brought down hard by Carl Hairston, who moved over from the right end spot and dropped Hammond in a hurry. And already, Jim, we hear some booing from the crowd.
Well, we heard boos when the Giants were introduced, in fact, earlier, before this game even started. The hometown fans a little bit down on the club now. They started off so well, and they've in the throes of a losing streak right now, and a lot of people had playoff hopes for this team, and those have been dwindling as weeks go by, and these fans up here are very tough.
It is a second down and 17, the ball on the 8-yard line of the Giants. They split the wide receivers as Jimmy Robinson comes back in the game for Moorhead. Perkins out to the far side. The back's in a wide open set as the Eagles almost go offside. The handoff goes inside to Hammond, who comes across the 10, but not much more before Frank Lemaster and Ken Clark make the stop. Eagles almost over-anticipated right there, but I think they got back.
What the Giant fans boo is a very conservative offense that the Giants have been using all season long. They've been a run-oriented team as opposed to the wide-open passing game. Coach John McVay obviously trying, as Dick Vermeil does, to build a running game and a sound foundation. The folks up here have been very impatient.
It is a third down and 15, a passing down for the New York Giants in their first offensive series. No score early in the game. The ball on the 10-yard line as Pizarchik goes back to pass. He looks, has time, fires deep. Looking downfield for Perkins, incomplete. Pass intended for Johnny Perkins, batted out of the sun by Herman Edwards and John Deke Sanders. So he had plenty of time, Jim, to unload then. But good coverage by the Eagles. I think the ball hung up at about midfield.
Plenty of time, but nobody to throw to. Everyone was covered. He only had 3 men into the pattern. He elected to go to the furthest guy down the field, Perkins, who was covered, as you mentioned, shoulder to shoulder. One side Sanders, the other side Edwards.
Into the game and standing in his own end zone is the Giant punter, David Jennings. He leads the entire NFL with a 44-yard average. John Schauer, the lone safety for the Eagles, will await the punt. inside the 50. It is a line drive. Shara backs up, takes it across midfield at his own 45, cuts up at the 45 of the Giants, and comes down to the 42 before he's hit. John Shara with a few good steps, bringing it across midfield into Giant territory before he is stopped by John Surpan. 45-yard punt. There's a timeout on the field. We have no score.
Talk about economy cars. At Datsun, we build them as if we had to buy the gas. Nobody can rent more from the Datsun. The Datsun B210GX, 48 highway, 36 city with optional 5-speed. These are EPA estimates. Your mileage may differ. But Datsun demands more. Our B210GX runs on quality. The front wheels never need caster and camber alignment in normal use. A steel fan protects the radiator. And for performance, Datsun engineered a dual-stage electric choke. We didn't have to be so demanding, but then we are Datsun. We are driven. Nobody demands more from the Datsun than Datsun. Check out the quality of a B210GX at your Datsun dealers today.
We have 13 minutes and 4 seconds remaining in the first quarter. No scores. The Eagles offense goes to work for the first time this afternoon, and they do so with good field position. They are in Giant territory down at the Giant 42-yard line, following the punt and the return by John Shara. First and 10 for the Birds as Jaworski lines them up. The backs are in the eye. The receivers are split as Jaworski turns and gives off inside to Mike Hogan, who cracks across the 40 and down to the Giant 47 or 37 or 38 before he is hit by Brian Kelly and Harry Carson. Jim again. Harry Carson is the guy who I think we are going to be mentioning an awful lot this afternoon because he is one of the best linebackers at playing that run. That time a 4-yard gain by Mike Hogan, bringing up the second down and 6. To the far side goes Kenny Payne. Now Harold Carmichael lines up tight. The backs start out in the eye. A second down and 6. Jaworski into a long count, looking over that Giant defense. Still calling. Now turns. Gives to Montgomery across the 35, down close to the 30. Wilbert Montgomery in his first bolt picks up a first down. Harry Carson makes the stop with Ernie Jones.
Well, Harry makes the stop, but he also took himself right out of the hole that time. He jumped up into the line of scrimmage at the last second and put himself in position where he could be blocked well that time by Guy Morris. The guy threw a shoulder in him, created the hole, and by the time Carson reacted, Wilbert had the big gain.
Little credit, too, to Tom Lucan, who hit somebody and helped open that hole, and it doesn't have to stay open too long for Wilbert Montgomery. First and 10 for the Eagles, the ball at the Giants' 31-yard line. The running back's in a wide open set as the Giants almost jump off sides. They get back. Jaworski looking. He wants to throw. Fires over the middle. Incomplete. Incomplete. It was off the hands of Rich Osborne, who had turned at about the 24-yard line. The ball may have been thrown a bit too high, and it was really fired by Ron and went off his hands, and the Eagles are lucky because it stayed in the air a long time, but one of the Giants did not pick it off.
Well, it also hurt the fingers of Rich Osborne that time. He came off the field holding, it looks like his thumb. He's going to be replaced by Charlie Smith, another wide receiver. So it's second down and 10 here. The Eagles have 3 wide men in the lineup.
That is exactly what they do. They go into that 3 wide receiver offense. Second and 10, mark the football at the 31-yard line. The backs are open. Smith is in a slot to the right. Outside of him is Kenny Payne. Back to throw. No, Jaworski on the draw play gives off to Mike Hogan. He backpedaled and stuck the ball into the stomach of Hogan, who picked up very short yardage as he came across the 30, down to the Giants' 28 or 27, and into the arms of Harry Thompson. So not much there. A pickup of 3. It'll be a third down and 7. We have 11 minutes and 20 seconds remaining to be played. Here in the first quarter, we have no score. The Eagles in their first offensive series of the game. Defense did very well their first time out. Third and 7, and the Eagles stay with the 3 wide receivers. This time Carmichael in a slot to the far side. Outside of him is Payne. Charlie Smith to the near side. Jaworski straight back. Setting. Fires over the middle. And the pass is incomplete. It was intended for Harold Carmichael, who had turned up at the 15-yard line. The ball was thrown a bit low, and Harold could not dig it out. The pass was low, and Ernie Jones was right on Harold in perfect coverage. So the Eagles do not click, but into the ball game comes Nick Mickemeyer. And Nick will attempt a long field goal.
blitzing situation by the Giants that time with that last play. They made Ron Jaworski throw that ball a little sooner than he wanted to. Nick Mickemeyer coming on. He'll kick from the 35, a 45-yard attempt.
And his longest so far this year has been a 39-yarder. 45-yard attempt for Mickemeyer. Here's the snap. The kick is up. It appears to have the distance, but it is off to the near side. The kick had the distance, but it hooked away off to the left, and so the Giants will get the football back. There is a timeout on the field. We have no score.
Fans, the next time you want a satisfying, good-tasting snack, try munching Fritos brand corn chips. Fritos brand corn chips are golden chips of corn that have a taste so unique they're like no other corn chips you've ever tasted. They're America's munchy favorite. Enjoy them at home or bring a pack along when you come to the game. For a real munch, try Fritos brand corn chips from Frito-Lay.
Fans, this is old number 17, Harold Carmichael, with some good news from Frito-Lay. People at Frito-Lay have teamed up with the Eagles to take on a really tough opponent, the dread disease leukemia. A lot of big strides have been made in the medical techniques used to knock out this terrible disease, but they all require money, lots of money. This year, for every single point scored by the Eagles, Frito-Lay will donate $100 to the Fly for Leukemia funds at the Children's Hospital. And every penny of that will go directly to research and treatment. My teammates and I will do everything we can to score lots of points. With Frito-Lay's generosity, we'll help put leukemia on the run.
Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak back at Giant Stadium. We have 10 minutes and 49 seconds remaining in a scoreless first quarter, and following the miss of a 45-yard field goal attempt by Nick Mickemeyer, the Giants go back on offense. They will take over on their own 28-yard line, 1st and 10. Would have been nice to get a couple of points up there early, but the Eagles did not. On the end of their first offensive series, and this is the second time the Giants have their hands on the football. The Eagles defense very, very strong the first time. The Giants send both wide receivers to the far side. The backs in a wide open set. Johnny Perkins the farthest. As the Zarkic rolls, fires to the far side, completes to Johnny Perkins, who takes the pass and goes out of bounds at the Giants' 45-yard line. First down for the Giants.
Giants putting in some wrinkles there to take the pressure off their offensive line, and Eagles pass rush that time. Zarkic faked like he's going to sweep around the right side, then he turned back and threw an out pattern to the opposite side of the field. Eagles in zone coverage on that opposite side, of course, had to play loose, and the receiver wide open.
Big pickup of 17 yards on that passing play. Doug Coder in at one running back spot, Bob Hammond the other. Emery Moorhead in at wide receiver, replacing Jimmy Robinson. 1st and 10 for the Giants. They have it at their own 45. Moorhead in motion. The pitch right goes to Hammond, who comes across the 45 and goes down at the 46 or 47. What a good shoestring tackle by Carl Hairston. Carl Hairston is a guy we speak about so often, Jim. I don't know how many times in the course of the game we are pointing out that Carl did this or did that or came clear across the length or the width of the field to make a tackle, but he is a fine defensive end.
Well, when it comes to playing the run, I don't think Dick Vermeer would trade him for anybody. And he got some help that time from Randy Logan, who blitzed in there from his strong safety spot and forced Hammond to turn inside, and he turned right into Hairston.
Willie Spencer, a big running back, comes in the ball game replacing Bob Hammond. He'll line up with Doug Coder. Spencer to the left, Coder to the right. Spencer in motion to the near side. The pitch goes to Coder, who tries to turn the corner, and he is bounced out of bounds shy of the 50, shy of midfield by Bill Berge, who read the play extremely well and bounced them out. A block thrown by Willie Spencer, but Coder could not pick up big yardage, and he will still be about 5 yards shy of a first down. The ball just about at midfield. 9:55 remaining in the first quarter as yet. No score on the Giants on a passing down.
3rd down and 7 here, right in the middle of the field, almost at the 50-yard line. The Giants were very successful in weeks past at going to screen passes. Perhaps we can look for that here.
They say his forward progress, to be exact, is the 48. The Giants' 48. So it is 3rd down and 7 as the Eagles look for the Giants to pass. Wide receiver split. Zarkic dropping back, being run out of the pocket. Carries the football across midfield, and he goes down at the Eagle 45-yard line, maybe to the 44. He does, and I believe he has a first down. Zarkic almost trapped. Elected to spin to his left, run up the middle, and finally tackled by Frank Lemaster, but he picked up 8 yards.
Reggie Wilkes had a hand on him, just couldn't bring him down. He eluded 2 Eagles that time and moved up just enough for the first down. His forward progress as he was leaping forward with the football fully extended enabled him to get the first down.
The officials are coming over to the sideline, and They're going to have a discussion right here. The Giants moving the football thanks to a good passing play to Johnny Perkins and a very good run right there by Pizarchik, who showed a little bit of mobility. James Thompson comes in the ball game. He'll replace Johnny Perkins. Carl Hairston had a shot at him. Dennis Harrison had a shot at him, and somebody actually had him by the hip, but he just turned and squirmed and raced up the center of the field, and he needed about 7 or 6.5 for the first down, and he got 8. Does have the first down. Pizarchik has had his ups and downs for the Giants. His quarterback rating places him at 48.7, though we're near among the league leaders. His completion average is 45%. They say that last week against the Washington Redskins in that very frustrating loss for the Giants, he had some very strong moments, but did not come up with a big play when they needed it, although the coaching staff also came under criticism for last week's loss. They said that many of the critics here in New York criticized the Giants coaching staff for being far too conservative and pointed in part to that play with a 3rd down and 7 in the sudden death overtime where the Giants decided to run up the middle, and of course the Redskins held and subsequently went on to win that football game. Official discussion here. We have 9:21 remaining in the first quarter. We have no score. The Giants have a first down. They are in Eagles territory inside the 45-yard line at about the 44.5. As Parkway Joe Pizarchik breaks them from the huddle. To the near side is Jimmy Robinson. To the far side, Johnny Perkins. A couple of dangerous wide receivers. The running backs in an open set. James Thompson and now one wide receiver. Pizarchik fires to the near side and completes the pass to Jimmy Robinson, who takes it and goes out of bounds inside the Eagle 35, down at the 34.
Reggie Wilkes got in from his left corner linebacker spot and leaped in the air, almost deflected that ball. The Eagles really going after Pizarchik, trying to put a lot of pressure on him. That has been the thing that a lot of teams have tried to do, but that time he eluded Reggie Wilkes and had the quick out pattern going on this side of the field. Bobby Lee Howard, the victim, good coverage, but it was just timed so well and thrown so well, there's not much you can do about it.
Going to bring in the chains right here and stretch them, and I believe they will find that the ball is very, very close. They're taking a long look, and they decide that it is just inches short of the Giant first down. They will spot the football just across the Eagle 35 at about the 34.5. So that brings up a 2nd down and inches for the Giants. So Pizarchik is throwing very well early in the game. Emery Moorhead comes in at one wide receiver. Johnny Perkins the other. The running backs are Bob Hammond and Doug Coder on the 2nd down and 1. The backs shift out of the eye, and Hammond lines up on a wing left. The wide receivers are split. Coder, the lone back, takes the handoff, goes up the middle, and falls forward for the necessary yardage. He has a first down before being stopped by Dennis Harrison and Charlie Johnson. So nothing fancy there. They brought one man out as a wing left, and the only running back was Coder. He's very strong. He needed the yard. He picked up 2.
A couple other scores. The St. Louis Cardinals 7 and the Washington Redskins nothing very early in the first period, and not too far from here, the Jets 7 and the New England Patriots nothing also in the first period.
1st and 10 for the Giants. They spot the football at the Eagle 32-yard line. Jimmy Robinson goes to the far side. Johnny Perkins lines up to the near side. Pizarchik to throw. Fires, completes the pass to Bob Hammond, and he takes it and goes inside the 25-yard line. Little motion that time, but it was Bob Hammond, the recipient. He picked up 7 yards on that short pass.
Hammond went in motion, then got right into the pattern. They put a little pressure on the left corner here by flooding it with receivers. Bobby Lee Howard had to kind of straddle things, go with one guy for a while, and then drift back toward Hammond, and the timing was there. Pizarchik doing a lot of throwing here on first down to keep the Eagles off his back.
And Giants coach John McVay doing a lot of substituting as James Thompson comes in, replacing Johnny Perkins. Willie Spencer comes in to team up with Coder. Spencer lines up as a wing left. The wide receivers are split. The handoff on a sweep left goes to Coder, who tries to turn the corner. He does. He comes down to the 20, and another Giant first down. Herman Edwards bounces him out of bounds, but he got some good blocks, and he picked up 5 yards and a first down. A big block by Willie Spencer, and that's what sprung him. A couple of good blocks on the offensive line by Gordon Gravel and Doug Van Horn and Jim Quack. Coder is not what you would call a burner. He's not a speed back, but that time he had the blocking. He had plenty of running room, and now the Giants are threatening. They have a 1st and 10. They are inside the 20. Hammond and Coder are the running backs. The wide receivers are split. Perkins and Robinson. Now Out to the side goes Hammond to the wing left. Pazorchik wants to throw. Setting, has time, fires, complete. Touchdown, Bob Hammond. A perfect pass from Joe Pazorchik to Bob Hammond, and the Giants are on the scoreboard.
Bob Hammond just drifted downfield into a wide open area there. The wide receivers both ran deep patterns into the corner of the end zone. Hammond just drifted out, found an open spot, and Pazorchik did not drill that ball. He just lofted it softly into the open area for a touchdown.
It was right on the money, and there was a definite mistake of the Eagles secondary because he was wide open. The try for the extra point by Joe Danello is up, and it's good. There's a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 7, the Eagles nothing.
Well, I'm leaving now, don't need no reservation, got no hesitation, got blue ribbon on my mind. Gonna pass right by all those other places, look for friendly faces, got blue ribbon on my mind. I've got blue ribbon on my mind. More and more lately I find I've got a taste for living. I'm thinking cold blue ribbon. I've got blue ribbon on my mind.
When it's all behind you, we've got a beer waiting for you. Pabst, America's premium beer since 1844. Naturally good, Pabst. A lot to look forward to.
I've got blue ribbon on my mind.
Pabst Brewing Company, Milwaukee and other cities.
We have about 7.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter here at Giants Stadium, and the Giants are on the scoreboard. 7-0 following a 19-yard pass, a perfect pass from Joe Pazorchik to Bob Hammond. And now the Giants will kick off to the Eagles in the person of Joe Danello. Awaiting the kickoff to the far side is Louis Gimona, and to the near side, Billy Campfield. Here's the kickoff. It is a line drive, and moving up and taking it at the 10 is Gimona. Gimona to the 15, to the 20, runs to his left to the 25, to the 30, cuts back across the 35, and up to the 37 or 38 comes Louis Gimona. Did very well, picking up good yardage on that kickoff return before he was stopped by Frank Marion. But Jim, some very smart running that time by Gimona, who saw the middle box up and then cut to his left and found the hole.
He did a fine job, and the Giants helped him, too. One of their problems this year has been covering kicks, both punts and kickoffs. They've been a little sloppy at one of each so far today.
Eagles have Rich Osborne, the tight end, back in the game. He had hurt his fingers in that first series, but he is back in. They had gone through the remainder of the series with 3 wide receivers. 1st and 10 for the Birds, the ball at their own 38-yard line. The wide receivers are split. The running back's in an open set. Jaworski on play action. Bing Chase fires to the far side, completes the pass to Rich Osborne across the 40 up at the 41-yard line. Very little yardage, a pickup of 2, and Jaworski with good play action looked downfield, but his primary receiver on the play, Kenny Payne, was not open, and then he flew into the flat, into that far side to Rich Osborne, who picked up 2 yards.
Little play action there in hopes of fooling Terry Jackson, the left cornerback out there, the rookie, but he was not fooled at all, and he stayed right with Ken Payne, and Jaworski had to dump it off.
At that time, and then when it closed up, he did throw quickly, but only a pickup of 2. 2nd down and 8. The ball at the Eagles' 41-yard line. They trailed the Giants 7-0 early in the game. The running backs are in an open set. The wide receivers are split. Jaworski goes to a long count. He turns. He hands off to Wilbur Montgomery, who comes up to about the 45-yard line before he is stopped. Wilbur picked up about 4 right there, and Harry Carson once again made the stop. Wilbur got off to such a great start this season. He was injured in the Cardinals game and has not played the past 2 weeks, but coming into this ball game, Wilbur picked up a total of 754 yards on 153 carries. That's almost a 5-yard a carry average. 3rd down and 4 for the Birds. Now they go with the 3 wide receivers. Carmichael wide to the near side. Payne to the far side. Charlie Smith in the slot right. Jaworski back to throw, fires, intercepted by Brad Van Pelt. Van Pelt intercepts the pass intended for Montgomery and brings it back to the Eagles' 38. Big break for the Giants defense as Brad Van Pelt cut it front to Wilbur Montgomery and picked it off, and again the Giants will threaten.
Nothing fancy there. Van Pelt just read the pattern and drifted right in. And it was a poorly thrown ball by Ron Jaworski. Wilbur Montgomery covered from the very moment he came out of the backfield. Harold Carmichael ran a deep route, hoping to clear that short zone, and I think Ron threw it a little too quickly before he read the coverage because Brad Van Pelt was right where he was supposed to be.
6:22 remaining in the first quarter, and the Giants have the football in Eagle territory down at the 38-yard line. The wide receivers are Perkins and Robinson. They're split. In motion to the far side goes Robinson. The back's in an open set. Pizarchik turns. Play action. Wants to throw. Unloads over the middle. Completes the pass to Perkins at the 20. Completes the pass to Perkins. I don't know how he got it off. He had Reggie Wilkes all over him. And as he was falling backwards, he somehow armed the ball over the middle. Complete for 18 yards and a Giant first down.
Everything going the Giants' way right now. Reggie Wilkes dumped Pizarchik just as he was throwing that football. The ball just sailed up there like a dying quail. Nobody in that middle zone between linebackers and deep receivers except the Giant receiver who beat everybody else to the football.
Eagles had the rush that time, but they did not have the coverage from the Giants on the first down at the Eagles 20. The Giants already on top, 7-0. Threatening, they want some more. Moorhead goes in motion. The handoff goes to Bob Hammond, who comes off left tackle, crosses the 20 down to the 17, and there is a flag on the play. And right now, let us pause 10 seconds for station identification.
Ken Garland plays your songs, WIP News, Merrill, Reese Sports, the Go Patrol, and the exclusive Finkel forecast, 6 to 10 a.m. on 610 WIP, Philadelphia.
If ever the Eagles needed a Giant penalty, it was right here, and Jim, they're going to get one.
A clipping penalty there. One of the Giant offensive linemen killed, a clipping penalty, but a holding penalty.
It's against Jim Clack, the Giant center. So the holding penalty is against Clack, and it will move the football back to the 30-yard line of the Eagles. But the Giants are in business once again, thanks to the pass interception by Brad Van Pelt. First down and 20 for the Giants at the Eagles 30. Leading the Birds, Giants on top, 7-0. 5:38 remaining in the first quarter as Pizarchik wants to throw. He lost the pass deep into the end zone. It is complete to Johnny Perkins for a touchdown. Perkins didn't have anybody within 15 yards of him. I don't know how he got that free. There wasn't anybody around Johnny Perkins. He could have been a baseball center fielder looking at the sky under a lazy fly ball and just yelled, "I got it." He was all by himself, and Pizarchik is taken up after he unloaded a 30-yard bomb, and they make it look easy as the Giants bounce their lead to 13-0.
Well, again, Eagles secondary with a complete foul up here. Somebody in that secondary, a safety man, either Randy Logan or John Sanders, has responsibility on the deep patterns when they're in that type of zone. And nobody covered back there. And we saw both Sanders and Logan talking to one another as they drifted off the field. But you can bet one of the two had responsibilities deep. Nobody there. Perkins all by himself.
This is as open as I have seen any receiver on any play on any team this year. There was just nobody with him. Here's the extra point by Danello. It's up, and it's good. There's a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 14, the Eagles nothing.
WIP salutes Mickey Mouse on his 50th birthday with a week-long party, and you get the presents. Starting tomorrow on The Ken Garland Show, you can win Mickey Mouse party gifts. Each gift package will include a 50th birthday T-shirt, a set of Disney albums courtesy of Ovation Records, a pair of Mickey Mouse ears, and a whole lot more. Then, from the 100 gift package winners, we'll draw 3 grand prize winners, each of whom receive a large stuffed Mickey Mouse doll and a new Bell & Howell Soundstar Super 8 movie camera. The Soundstar brings back the fun in home movies. So, Mouseketeers and WI people of all ages, help us salute Mickey on his 50th birthday all this week, only on 610 WIP. WIP along on the weekend, spend the weekend with WIP weekend.
5.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak back at Giant Stadium, and the Eagles are already in trouble. Of course, an awful lot of time remaining in this football game, but they are in early trouble as the Giants lead 14-0. And now Janello will kick off for the Giants following that 30-yard easy bomb to Johnny Perkins for the Giants' second touchdown of the afternoon. Deep for the Eagles. Jamona to the far side. Campfield to the near side. The kickoff is a poor one. It bounces. It is picked up by Jamona, who is spun around at the 20, on his feet at the 25, and comes up to the 27-yard line before he is stopped by Dan Lloyd. Dan Lloyd makes the stop.
Shocking thing here is during the last 8 games, the Eagles have been holding opponents to 11.6 points per game, one of the best defensive records in the league. And here we are with 5 minutes 21 to go in the first period, and already the Giants have struck for 2 touchdowns.
One of the things about the Eagles, even when they have not played well this season, they generally look very organized, very assured of their assignments. But so far this afternoon, there has definitely been confusion in the secondary. There is no other way to describe it but confusion. The running back shift into the eye. Harold Carmichael lines up on a wing to the far side. The Eagles are going to be called right here as Rich Osborne jumps ahead of the count. Rich Osborne looked like he started out in front of him. Here's the official's call. But the Eagles offensively have yet to get on track this afternoon. They have had a couple of opportunities. Penalty being walked off against the Eagles. 5 yards in reverse. So instead of a 1st and 10, they will be into a 1st and 15. The Eagles have played well coming back a couple of times this year. They came from a 14-point hold against the Baltimore Colts. This Giant team a bit hungry, though. They have lost the past 3 weeks. The Eagles have won the past 2 weeks. 1st down and 15 for the Eagles. The football spotted at their own 23-yard line. The backs in an open set. The wide receivers are split. Jaworski looking over the Giants' defense. 1st and 15, and he hands off on the delay to Mike Hogan, who can only come as far as the 25-yard line, and the Giants were waiting for him. Troy Archer not fooled at all on the slight delay, and Harry Carson in on his 7th or 8th tackle. Harry Carson playing the run so well. 2nd down and 13 for the Eagles. Spot the football at their own 25-yard line. Giants up 14-0. Harold Carmichael to the near side. Kenny Payne to the far side. Running backs in the eye. Mike Hogan is the up back. Wilbur Montgomery is the deep back. Now they shift out of it into an open set. Jaworski going to a lot of long counts. He turns, gives off to Mike Hogan, who sweeps around, and he loses yardage back at the 22. Brian Kelly and Jack Gregory read the play to perfection, and they dumped Mike Hogan for a loss of 3 yards on the play, and just a delay right there, Jim, and the Giants were ready.
Well, Ron Jaworski drops back like he's going to throw the long bomb and then just hands it off to Mike Hogan, who came and tried to turn it around the left end here for a big gain, but both Giant linebackers on this side, the middle linebacker and the left side linebacker, plug things up.
He loses on the play, a loss of 3 yards. 3rd down for the Eagles at about 18. The back shift out of the eye. They go with the 3 wide receivers. Carmichael spotted to the far side. Kenny Payne to the near side. Jaworski straight back. Has time. Fires over the middle. Completes to Harold Carmichael for a 1st down up at the 40-yard line. And Ernie Jones makes the stop, but Harold's streak goes to 92.
92, 95 straight passes is Don Hudson's record, the all-time record, 105. 92 straight games now in which Harold Carmichael has caught a pass, and hopefully he's going to catch a few more today because the Eagles got to start going to him and a few other folks to get back in this ballgame.
Very good job there by the offensive line that gave Jaworski plenty of time. Walters, Lucan, Morris, Peoples, and Sizemore. They held out the Giants, and Harold had time to complete his pattern, and then Jaworski drilled him. Pitch left to Wilbur Montgomery, who flies across the 40, comes up to about the 43-yard line before he is stopped by Larry Mallory. Jaworski just lined them up that time and gave them one hot took the football and pitched out to Wilbur Montgomery. Here's a first quarter score, an interesting one, Jim. St. Louis leading the Washington Redskins 14-0. Jim Hart, the Steve for a 22-yard touchdown, and we saw Steve catch his first pass a couple of weeks ago against the Eagles and take it for a TD.
Cardinals won 3 ball games in a row going into that one today.
2nd down and 7 following the 3-yard gain by Wilbur. Ball at the Eagle 43-yard line. The backs in the open set. The wide receivers are split. Offense has to get going. Hand off to Wilbur inside, who drags a man across the 45 and comes up to the 46 or 47, and John Mendenhall makes the stop. Wilbur has said that he is playing at a bit more weight than he was earlier in the season. A lot of times you'll hear a ball player saying that when he's playing, he loses weight because he's very, very active. But Wilbert said when he was playing so well, he was so excited that he didn't eat much and played at about 185, and now I think he's up to about 192.
Well, I'll tell you, he's getting 3 yards here and 4 yards there, but on every occasion, it seems, if he gets by one more tackle, it's see you later.
May happen. A minute and 56 remaining in the first quarter. Giants on top of the Eagles, 14-0. Rich Osborne goes in motion. Jaworski hands off inside to Montgomery, who cracks across midfield and down to the Giant 46-yard line for a first down, and he had the good burst right there, and Wilbert looks now like he's never been away.
Boy, there was another occasion, too. One more tackle there, and he's into the secondary. There isn't a soul on the Giants' backfield there can stay with Wilbert on a foot race. That time they were very lucky that they got him.
Billy Werndale extols the blocking of Morris, Peoples, and Sizemore right there, and Billy's right on the button. They did throw the blocks. They did open the hole, and Wilbert took advantage. 1st and 10 for the Eagles as they try to sustain something. 1:15 remaining in the first quarter. So far, it's been all the Giants. Jaworski on first down, being chased, wants to throw, fires the bomb, looking deep for Carmichael. Incomplete. Carmichael juggled the football. Ray Rhodes was on him and did a great job to bat the ball away from Carmichael. But he had Carmichael down that left sideline, down at about the 4-yard line. But a good job right there by Ray Rhodes, who played that pass as well as it could be played.
Absolutely. Harold with good position, and also, of course, he's got size going for him as he has against every cornerback in the league. And Harold had a chance to catch that ball, but Ray Rhodes did the smart thing. He started poking at Harold's arms and at the football, hoping to jar it loose, and he was successful in this instance.
I'll tell you what Harold is thinking right now. He is a little unhappy with Harold because anytime he even touches a ball, he doesn't care who else touches it. If it touches his hands, he is dissatisfied unless he brings it in. He has those great big hands, and he is an outstanding receiver. He made the two big plays a week ago to beat the Jets. It's 2nd down and 10 for the Eagles. They're at the Giant 46. Jaworski to Montgomery, who comes across the 45 down to the 43, but he is abruptly put down by Harry Carson and Brad Van Pelt. I think that is the 8th tackle this afternoon for Harry Carson, and we're seeing just how good he is.
Well, that time the Eagles ran a little crisscross pattern in the backfield, faking to Hogan, hoping to draw Carson out of there, but he didn't go for it. He stayed right there, and Wilbert came in from the other direction, and Carson, of course, made the stop.
Like Bill Berge, he did not enjoy much of the national limelight as a college player. Berge, of course, went to Arkansas State, and Harry Carson at South Carolina State. The Giants will rotate into the nickel defense. The Eagles with a 3rd down and 6. The ball at the Giant 42. Jaworski straight back to throw. Setting, looking, fires, incomplete. Intended for Mike Hogan, but Hogan was covered by Larry Mallory, and Jaworski had to throw the football, and Hogan really did not have a shot at that one.
Hogan covered well that time by Mallory. Mike was not into the pattern as yet, and Jaworski under a heavy rush had to throw too soon. Nobody really into that flat pattern when Hogan was about to start in that direction, but the ball was on its way before he was.
Putting that good rush on for the Giants was John Mendenhall. He came in hard. Jaworski just got it off. And now the Eagles will punt as Mike Michelle backs up to take the snap from Dennis Franks at his own 43-yard line. Waiting deep into the far side is Bob Hammond. To the near side is Jim Robinson. Robinson goes over to the far side. Then is Hammond to the near side. A high punt sailing over the head of Michelle. He picks up the football and turns and kicks it away, and it will be taken by a Giant and dropped at the 35-yard line. But let us give some credit right here to Mike Michelle, who had the football snapped a good 5 yards over his head. He raced after it. He picked it up on a bounce. He raced to the far side. He stopped. He turned, and he boomed the soccer kick downfield. It was taken by Terry Jackson. He dropped the football, then fell on it. The Giants will take over 1st and 10 at their own 35-yard line. But what a great clutch job by Mike Michelle.
Well, when Mike Michelle came here from the Miami Dolphins by way of Stanford, Dick Vermeil said, watch this guy. He's an athlete. He can do a lot more things than just stand back there and kick the ball.
He didn't want to have to do more right there, but he did, and he did it well. 1st and 10 for the Giants. The handoff goes inside to Dan Dornick. Now in the game at one running back spot. And Dornick comes up to about the 39 or 40-yard line. There is the gun. That's the end of the first quarter. There's a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 14, the Eagles nothing.
Of all imported pickup trucks, guess which one is numero uno? You guessed it. Datsun. The Small pickups. Datsun invented them. Datsun perfected them. Number one for 19 straight years. The Datsun Stretch with an enormous bed over 7 feet long. The Datsun King Cab, only pickup with reclining bulkhead seats and up to 11 cubic feet of storage space inside the cab. The Datsun pickups, number one for 19 years. Why? We work at it as hard as our trucks. We are driven.
Nobody demands more from a Datsun.
See and drive America's number one pickups at your Datsun dealer.
Back at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak as they get set for second quarter action. The Giants leading 14-0. And Barnes, it's interesting that in that first quarter, the Eagles have had so many problems, and in the past they have totaled only 14 points. While the Giants have had the first period being their best, they have scored 69 first quarter points this season, and that kind of trend holds up this afternoon.
Well, the Eagles defense now, with its work cut out for them, you don't want these Giants to get any more points here in the first half, or certainly a 14-0 lead is not insurmountable. We've seen the Eagles rally from behind in this situation frequently this season, but you don't want to give them any more points because they do play defense so well. That's the one asset. So when they're scoring, they just become a much more dangerous ball club.
Joe Barniak, who has been under a lot of fire here in his second season as the Giants quarterback, has thrown extremely well so far this afternoon. He has put the ball in the air 7 times and completed 6 of those for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I trust that the last touchdown pass to Johnny Perkins could have been completed by almost anybody because he was in the end zone and there was nobody within 15 yards of him. That is how open he was. A second down and 6 for the Giants as we get set for the second quarter. The handoff goes to Coder, who tries to turn the far corner, gets away from one man. We'll see where they mark him. He comes across the Giants' 45-yard line and runs out at about the 46, 47, and he does have the first down. That was now you have him, now you don't play, as the Eagles appeared to have him trapped at the 40, and all of a sudden he emerged from a pile and picked up 8 yards.
3 tacklers out there, each one waiting for the other guy to bump him out of bounds, and nobody did anything, and Kodar spurted through for about another 6 yards.
James Thompson comes in, replacing Johnny Perkins. The guys do a lot of substituting to keep their people fresh. Thompson lines up to the near side. Jimmy Robinson to the far side. Now he comes in motion to the near side. The back's in the open set. Barniak wants to throw on first down. Fires to the near side. The pass is incomplete. Intended for James Thompson, who thought he had the football. But the official says, you trapped it. He went down and could not make the catch down at the Eagle 45-yard line. 2nd and 10 for the Giants. Now Johnny Perkins comes back in. They shift those wide receivers, showing Johnny Perkins and James Thompson and Jimmy Robinson and Emery Moorhead. And they use many of their running backs. Bob Hammond. We haven't seen Billy Painter yet today, but they do use him. Willie Spencer has played, Doug Coder and Dan Dornick. Presently, it is Coder and Dornick. 2nd down and 10 for the Giants. They have the football at their own 47. The handoff goes to Dornick, who cracks off right tackle across the midfield stripe and into Eagle territory at the 48 before Charlie Johnson makes the stop. The Eagles' defense has made so many plays this year, Jim. They have come from behind. They have made a lot of big plays the last couple of weeks. So many times against the Packers, against the Jets, they came up with big plays. But this afternoon, it's still very, very early, but they did show some confusion in that first quarter that has to have the coaches a bit concerned on pass coverage. Emery Moorhead comes in and Jimmy Robinson comes out. Moorhead will line up to the near side. Perkins out to the far side. A 3rd down and 5. The backs are split. Barniak wants to throw. Sets, fires. The pass is batted away. Incomplete. It was intended over the middle for Gary Shirk, the tight end, but Frank Lemaster steps in front of him, batted the pass incomplete.
Randy Logan coming in again, blitzing from his strong safety spot, put a little bit of pressure on Barniak, who unloaded a bit soon, but that time fine coverage by Frank Lemaster, who took that tight end one-on-one practically and stayed right with him.
Did a very fine job. 4th down and 5 for the Giants, and now Joe Danello checks in the game, or rather David Jennings, the Giant punter, checks in the game. He'll wait the snap. He gets it at his own 38. He hits it, angling for the nearest sideline. It takes a bounce. It doesn't reach the sidelines. It bounces in and out of the end zone. Started out for the nearest sideline, but it bounces at the 5 and rolls on in. A 48-yard punt for David Jennings. who is averaging, as I said, 44 yards. That is the top average of any punter in the National Football League. So now the Eagles will take over. There is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants leading the Eagles 14-0.
Jackie Stewart, winner of more Formula One Grand Prix automobile races than any driver in history.
Formula One racing can be incredibly expensive. Even tires and fuel don't come cheaply. Of course, in racing, the price of fuel is not much of a consideration. But when you're driving down the highway in a car that doesn't deliver such terrific gas mileage, and you've got to use premium gasoline in that car, well, then the price of gasoline should be a consideration. Paying premium prices for premium gasoline is not something I'd care to do. Not when there's a premium that sells for less than most other major premiums. Getty Premium. Getty offers quality premium gasoline without the premium price. That means you can get the power your car demands and pay less for it. So remember, when you fill up next time, fill up with Getty Premium. The premium that gives you more miles for your money.
Ron Jaworski on the afternoon has passed the football 7 times, completed 3 of them for a total of only 20 yards and 1 interception. Eagles could be in worse shape. They had a snap for a punt go over the hands of their punter, Mike Michel, but he boomed it anyhow, raced it down and got it off. But now the Eagles go back on offense. 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Jaworski splits the wide receivers, has the backs in the eye, hands off to Wilbur Montgomery, who spins away from one man in the backfield, but still can only get back to the line of scrimmage. And, Jim, that play took a long time developing.
Wilbur Montgomery couldn't find any running room there at all. The Giants are really gearing up now to stop the run on 1st down, so perhaps we can expect Ron Jaworski at some point soon to try and loosen things up here.
Brian Kelly is the man who made the stop. The Giants have 3 very fine linebackers. Harry Carson, we have spoken about him so many times today, and Brian Kelly, who is the right outside linebacker, and also Brad Van Pelt, the former All-American from Michigan State, who has an interception already today. 2nd down and 10, the ball only at the original line of scrimmage as Jaworski gives to Montgomery on the delay. Montgomery stumbles at the 25, comes across the 30. Montgomery up to the 35-yard line. Excellent run by Wilbur Montgomery, who had no place to go. He was hit 2 or 3 times. He kept the balance miraculously and finally cracked up to the 35-yard line. A 14-yard gain for Wilbur before he is stopped by George Martin and Larry Mallory. But Wilbur again showing that exceptional balance.
Broke some tackles in the secondary there, running very well. Don't forget, about 4 weeks ago, he was hurting from head to toe and showing no ill effects of it here, however.
1st and 10 for the Birds. The wide receivers are split. Rich Osborne takes a step outside, now moves in motion to the near side. As Jaworski turns inside, again goes to Montgomery, who finds the hole in the middle and comes up to the 38 before Brian Kelly stops him. Brian Kelly and Jack Gregory. I'm amazed the way Wilbur is running. He picks up 5 yards right there. Not that I'm amazed by much that Wilbur does, but here is a guy who has missed the past 2.5 weeks and already has carried the football 9 times for 51 yards. And little Wilbur just right back where he started. He just shows no effects of that ankle and knee injury whatsoever. 2nd down and 5 for the Eagles. The wide receivers are split. The backs are in the eye. We have 11:59 remaining in the half. Giants on top 14-0. Eagles still trying to get that offense operating. Jaworski hands off inside to Mike Hogan, who spins across the 40 and comes up to the 42 before Troy Archer makes the stop. The Eagles primarily keeping that ball on the ground.
I'll say this for the Birds. Harry Carson, one of the top defensive linemen in the league. We've talked about him all afternoon already, but the Eagles continue to run right at him.
Out of the game comes Kenny Payne, and on a 3rd down and 1, they will use 2 tight ends. Bill Larson will play. Bill Larson just acquired this week. Colorado State. Crowd reacting to the scoreboard showing the Cardinals leading the Redskins 21-0. But the Eagles on a 3rd and 1. Jaworski to Montgomery, who comes up to the 45-yard line, and he should have the 1st down. Little off-tackle play. Wilbur took it, went straight ahead, a block by Stan Waters and Tom Lucan. He needed 1. He got 2, and Jack Gregory made the stop. Eagles with the 1st down at their own 45-yard line. 10:55 remaining in the half. Eagles trailing the Giants 14-0. Wilbur Montgomery. 1st and 10 for the Birds. They line up at their own 45. The wide receivers are split. The backs start out in the eye, and now they shift into a set left. As Jaworski goes into the long count. He retreats. He sets up. Looking. Fires in the flat. Incomplete. Intended for Mike Hogan. at the 45-yard line. The ball was thrown a bit in front of him, and he could not bring it in. But there is a flag thrown down at the Giant 40.
That's thrown in the illegal chuck territory there. Let's see if that's a call. Illegal chuck is exactly the call. One of the secondary people, either a linebacker or a wide receiver, or a defensive back, hit the Eagles wide receivers that time beyond the 5-yard combat zone, we call it.
It is just that, and they will move the football up to midfield, and it will be a first down and 10 for the Eagles right there. Wilber's last carry brought him up to 807 yards on the season, giving him the most yards since Tom Sullivan picked up 968. That was back in 1973. First and 10 for the Eagles. They have the ball at midfield, trying to get that offense in gear. Jaworski turns, gives off to Mike Hogan, who finds some running room off left tackle, and he comes across midfield and down to the Giant 46 before Jack Gregory and Brian Kelly makes the stop. Eagles just not clicking in that first quarter. They have had so many problems in the first quarters, and it seems like week after week, Coach Dick Vermeil has asked about that, and people have said, Dick, is it the play calling? Are you too conservative? Don't you put the ball up enough on first down? But Dick has pointed out that he feels it is not the play calling so much as the execution. There have been several breakdowns, several opportunities for points, but they have not come so far. Second down and 6 for the Eagles. 9:48 left in the half. Giants up 14-0 as Jaworski wants to throw. Sing rush. Fires incomplete in the flat for Mike Hogan. Mike Hogan was out there in the near flat, but that was the case where Jaworski had no time. He had the good rush. He had the 6'1", 255-pound bulk of Grambling's John Mendenhall bearing down on him, and he just unloaded out to Hogan, and perhaps it was a good thing the pass wasn't complete, because Hogan would have been thrown for a loss.
Dick Vermeil a little angry at the wide receivers there. They're taught that when Ron Jaworski reads blitz, he'll make an audible sound, and all those Giant linebackers were coming. The wide receivers are then instructed to make quick out patterns to the outside so Jaworski can unload the football. Well, apparently somebody missed signals because Ron Jaworski had no place to throw the football that time and threw it away.
A big third down for the Eagles right here as Carmichael lines up wide to the near side. Out to the far side is Kenny Payne. The back shift down to the eye. Hogan left, Montgomery right. Jaworski taking a long look at the defense. He's retreating, looking, firing, over the middle. Complete to Rich Osborne for a first down. Rich Osborne bobbled the football as it hit his hands, but he pulled it in and took it down at the Giant 34-yard line for a first down, a 12-yard pickup, and a good job by Ozzie.
Ozzie that time had to beat one of the best, Brad Van Pelt. Van Pelt has the body physique of a running back, and he's very, very fast and very strong, and unlike most linebackers, he can really get into the passing zones and cover wide receivers, quick guys, powerful guys, anybody. And he's been an all-pro the last couple of years, but that time Rich Osborne was able to get a step on him.
There is no doubt that the Eagles missed Keith Prepley, who was placed on the injured reserve list this week with some cracked ribs, but Rich Osborne doing a good job. Now he moves off of his strong right tight end spot, goes in motion to the far side. The back's in the eye as Jaworski hands off to Montgomery, who finds running room and comes across the 30 and down to the 29. Harry Carson makes the stop, but some good running room off the left side, and Wilbur Montgomery speeds through for a pickup of 5 yards behind blocks by Stan Walters and Tom Lucan.
Excellent drive here the Eagles have going. Of course, they got some breaks with penalties here, but they are getting 5 and 6 yards on first down, and that makes it so much easier.
8 minutes and 42 seconds remaining in the half. 14-0 the Giants. Carmichael lines up wide to the far side. Kenny Payne to the near side. 2nd and 5 for the Birds. Now Osborne flip-flops over to the near side. The back's in a set left. Jaworski turns, gives to Montgomery, who is pulled down from behind back at the 35. And that play was just read to perfection by John Mendenhall, who came into the Eagle backfield just a second after Wilbur took the handoff. And he extended his arms and tripped Wilbur from behind. A loss of 5 yards on the play and some very, very good defense by the Giants.
Sheer ability by Mendenhall that time. Shed a blocker, and with his speed, he's very, very fast for a down lineman. Got into the backfield and was able to get a hold of Wilbur Montgomery before Montgomery could turn the corner.
A third down in a passing situation for Jaworski. A third down and 10. The football inside the 35, down at the Giant 34. Eagles go with 3 wide receivers. Carmichael to the near side has just 1 man on him so far. Jaworski back to throw. Has Carmichael, and Carmichael should have the first down as he spins He took the ball at the 25-yard line, and he spun forward, came down to the 23 or 22. Ernie Jones in single coverage, and he didn't have a prayer.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. Single coverage, exactly. And they've been doing it a lot on Harold Carmichael here early, and you just can't do that.
Rich Osborne comes back into the football game at tight end as the Eagles pull Charlie Smith. They went with the 3 wide receivers that time, but only one man lining up on Harold. Jaworski read it and threw it perfectly. 1st and 10 for the Birds. They want to get on that scoreboard. They have the ball at the Giant 23. Wide receivers are split. Backs in an open set. Jaworski again goes to that long count. Still calling. He turns, gives to Hogan on a sweep left. Cannot turn the corner, and he's thrown for a loss. Jack Gregory just slid along the line of scrimmage, and he threw Mike Hogan for a loss of a couple. We'll pause 10 seconds for station identification.
What?
Well, Jack Gregory looked like, he looked that time, Jim, like he had heard the play in the Eagles huddle. He was that convinced that Mike Hogan was sweeping to the outside, and he just slid along the line of scrimmage, and when they both arrived at the same point, he dumped Michael. 2nd down and 13 following the loss of 3. Wide receivers are split. The running backs are split. Jaworski wants some points. He backs up. He goes long, looking for Carmichael, incomplete. Looking for Carmichael, who he had. Carmichael had his man by a step, but racing over and jumping into the air and knocking the pass away from Carmichael and harmlessly out of bounds at the 3 safety, Ernie Jones, and Jones really made a great play there.
That time the Giants did double cover Harold, but Harold still had possession that time, and had the ball been thrown longer further downfield, the Eagles would have had themselves a touchdown.
Well, that time they masked that double coverage. They dropped Ray Rhodes back on Harold Carmichael, and then Ernie Jones just read the play perfectly as it was coming to Carmichael, and he came away and cut off the angle, knocking the football out. A 3rd down and 13 as the Eagles go with 3 wide receivers. The Giants bring in an extra defensive back. They're in the nickel. The back's in an open set. Charlie Smith in a slot to the near side. Kenny Payne outside of him. Jaworski dropping back. Being chased. Rolling to his left. Firing deep for the end zone. Incomplete. Incomplete. The pass intended for the far left corner of the end zone for Charlie Smith. Knocked away by Ray Rhodes. Incomplete, and the Giants have held.
Charlie Smith had some clear territory in the end zone that time, but the ball had to be thrown about 50 yards in the air, and by the time it came down, Rhodes was able to react and get over there in time to bat it down. He looked wide open, but of course when you got to throw the football that far, a speedy defensive back or any defensive back can recover.
Mickemeyer in the ball game for his 2nd field goal attempt of the afternoon. This time the ball will be spotted at the 33 by John Sierra. A 43-yard attempt. He gets the kickoff, and it's blocked. It's blocked and recovered by the Giants. Harry Carson, I believe, is the man who blocked the field goal attempt. Listen to the crowd for the Giant defense. Here's a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 14, the Eagles nothing.
This is Rocky Graziano. Have you seen our TV commercials for today's man? You know, with Smoking Joe, me, Cal Rhodes, and all those other guys. Well, it teaches you about winning. They win by hitting the right place at the right time. That's how to win when you're buying things, too. Like right now, is the right time to hit today's man. Why? Because you could take $100 off the price tag on any new suit. That's why. And you could take $50 off the price tag on any sports coat or top coat or raincoat. And $50 isn't chicken feed either. You want to win at shopping for clothes, then hit the right place. Today's man at the right time, right now, while they got the winter sale going on. You get great brands at great prices, and they're great guys, too. So get over to Roosevelt Boulevard or City Line or Market Street to your nearest today's man. And tell the guy Rocky Graziano says, treat you right or I'll give him one right in our panza.
We have 5 minutes and 39 seconds remaining until halftime. Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak here at Giant Stadium, and so far the report has been great only if you are a New York Giants fan. If you're an Eagles fan, you haven't been pleased with what has transpired so far, as the Eagles have had a few opportunities offensively to get things going. They have not. And they had a terrible first period defensively. They have knit together well in the second quarter, but in the first period they had several pass defense breakdowns, and that's why the Giants are up 14-0, 5:39 left in the half.
Big play, too, in that first half, an interception. Brad Van Pelt intercepted a Ron Jaworski pass, and the Giants were able to convert that into their second touchdown.
Bob Hammond scored the first on a 19-yard pass from Pizarchik. And then Pizarchik to Perkins, all alone in the end zone for a 30-yard pass. Bob Hammond and Coder are the running backs. The Giants put the ball in play. It's a pitch to the far side to Hammond, who turns the corner at the 35, to the 40, to the 42-yard line. Bob Hammond finally banged out by Frank LeMaster, but he picks up good yardage, and he's very close to another Giant first down. A couple of good blocks by J.P. Turner, who came out of Duke, a Philadelphia native, and Brad Benson. They pinch blocked inside, and he came racing to the outside. A pickup of 9, second down and 1.
J.T. Turner and an offensive line out of Benjamin Franklin High School, and a very, very fine fencer.
5:34 remaining in the first half. Giants splits the wide receivers. Now Bob Hammond goes over as a wing right. One running back, that's Coder. The handoff goes to Coder, who tries to go to the right side, but he gets no place. Reggie Wilkes came up and made the tackle along with Dennis Harrison. Bring him down, and I don't even know if he got the first down yardage. He only needed a yard, but if he got it, he just about got it.
Fencer, I mean, the guy who duels with the sabers and foils and all that stuff, not a guy who builds fences. Ben Franklin High, for some reason, has turned into a kind of a fencing hotbed.
I knew that somewhere along the line of this broadcast, or somewhere along the line of the season, you will turn things over to epées and foils and sabers, and they will extend the foils with yard markers on them, and look and see that he got the first down. There's the scoreboard again, and you can hear the roar as the Cardinals mount their lead over the Redskins, 24-0. 24-0. The Cardinals got healthy 3 weeks ago against the Eagles, and Jim, they haven't cooled off yet.
Well, they're very healthy here. These fans are real scoreboard watchers. They react to things. You sometimes hear screams and oohs and ahs, and you look up and you don't know what they're talking about or reacting to, but usually it's the scoreboard.
Well, many weeks there is nothing worth watching but the scoreboard for these fans, but today they have had a lot of offense, some good passing plays, and Pizarchik's look good. First and 10 for the Giants as Pizarchik rolls right. Fires to the far sideline, and the pass is incomplete. It was caught by Johnny Perkins over on the far side up at midfield, but they say he was out of bounds. He had a foot at the across the sideline, and Bobby Lee Howard was over there to play some pretty good defense. Bobby Lee Howard was right on him. So it is a second down and 10 for the Giants, who have the football at their own 43-yard line. Emery Moorhead now comes in, replacing Jimmy Robinson as one wide receiver, Johnny Perkins the other. Bob Hammond and Doug Coder are the running backs. Moorhead lines up to the near side. The back shift into the eye. Perkins to the far side. Second down and 10. Moorhead in motion to the far side. It's a pitch right to Bob Hammond, who is tackled from behind to the 42-yard line. A shoestring tackle by Dennis Harrison, and he showed something right there.
Great pursuit that time. Reggie Wilkes gets credit with the force. He shot in from his corner spot and jammed up the blocking, and then Dennis Harrison, pursuing from the far side, leaped in there and got a finger or a hand or something on the ball carrier and toppled him over.
Well, he's big, and when he extends his frame to its fullest, he can really take advantage of that height. Dennis Harrison, 6 feet 8, 275-pound rookie, developing very well out of Vanderbilt University. A third down and 10, and Jimmy Robinson is back in the game. He flanks over to the far side. Johnny Perkins to the near side. In motion to the near side comes Robinson. They're both over left. A delay. The handoff goes to Coder, and Coder goes no place. Coder goes no place but into the arms of Carl Harrison, and the crowd didn't like that call one single bit, and the Giants will have to punt the football with 4 minutes remaining in the half, but the Giants lead 14-0. Good play by the Eagles defense. They were ready for that delay. John Schara would drop back as the lone safety at the 15-yard line. In the punt is David Jennings, who the last time boomed the 48-yarder. Jim Peterzak snapped it. This punt is high, and it is wobbling, and Schara calls for a fair catch at his own 20-yard line. And the Eagles will take over first and 10 at their own 20 following a 37-yard punt. So he just got that into the air. Not one of his better punts, but there was a wave of New York Giants coming down on John Schara, and he just wisely called for the fair catch. Time for the Eagles offense to produce something. They have come down. They have come as far as the Giants' 20-yard line, but they have not gotten in for a score. Nick Nickemeyer missed the field goal attempt, the long one, a 45-yarder, which had the distance but was wide to the near side in the first quarter. He had a shot in that last offensive series, but the field goal was blocked by Harry Carson and recovered by the Giants. So now Ron Jaworski wants to bring them down. It was Brian Kelly who made the recovery and put the Giants back on offense, but they didn't do anything with it that time. 3:37 remaining to be played here in the first half. So far, 14-0 the Giants. Jim, how about the scoreboard?
Okay, the Jets hanging on top of the unpredictable New England Patriots at this point, 7-3 in the second period. San Diego and Minnesota tied 7-7 in the second period. And, of course, the big one that we've given you already, St. Louis 24 and Washington 0. They're still playing in the second period. Tampa Bay leads Buffalo 7-0. They're in the first period.
Jim, just repeating that announcement at the beginning of the broadcast when the Eagles announced that their owner and president, Leonard H. Toast, underwent successful open heart surgery last Tuesday at the Texas Heart Institute in Houston, Texas. He's doing fine, and the operation to replace the aortic valve was performed by the renowned heart surgeon, Dr. Denton Cooley, at the recommendation of Mr. Toast's personal physician, Dr. Salvatore Carfagno of Norristown. And Dr. Carfagno is down there with Leonard, and he's doing well, and we wish him the speediest recovery. And he's with us today listening to the game out in Houston, Texas. 1st and 10 for the Eagles as Jaworski hands off on first down to Billy Campfield, who spins across the line of scrimmage, comes up to about the 24-yard line, a pickup of 4. Tackled by John Mendenhall. The Giants do not have any size in their defensive secondary. They have Terry Jackson, who is 5'10", and Larry Mallory, 5'11", and Ray Rhodes, who is 5'11". Ernie Jones is their big man back there, the free safety, 6'3". So perhaps the Eagles can go to some kind of fire high play and get Carmichael open some more. A 2nd down and 7 following the pickup of 3 by Billy Campfield. The ball at the 23-yard line. The back's in an open set. Campfield in, giving Wilbur Montgomery a breather. Jaworski on play action. Fires to Campfield in the flat. But Campfield is going to be thrown for a loss at the 22-yard line. Giants think they have the football, but the ball releases. The ball comes loose after the whistle. But Billy takes the pass. He had to go into the air to get it, and when he came down, Brian Kelly and Ray Rose had surrounded him, and they throw him for a loss of 1, or at the very most bring him back at the original line of scrimmage, so it is still going to be 3rd down and 7 or 8.
Campfield, the best pass receiver of the Eagles' backfield core. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with Wilbert Montgomery, or at least I hope not. I haven't seen any indication that there is, but Campfield in there because he can catch the ball, and the Eagles may have to put the ball up here if they hope to get on the board with 2:47 left to go in the first half.
The Giants are playing with 4 linebackers. Now, they are principally, Jim, a 40 defensive team, but right now they have inserted another linebacker. They have Dan Lloyd in the game, and they bring out Troy Archer, who is their right defensive tackle. So they have 2 inside guys, and Harry Carson and Dan Lloyd. And, of course, their regular outside guys, the left linebacker, Brad Van Pelt, and the right linebacker, Brian Kelly. So the Giants, as I said, principally a 40 team, but they do, on occasion, go to the 30, and that's what they're doing right here. 2:47 remaining in the half, and Ron Jaworski is calling a timeout to come over and discuss things with the Eagles coaching staff, speaking to Dick Vermeil and Bill Davis. Into the ball game comes Charlie Smith. Out of the game is going to come Rich Osborne, so the coaches have elected to go with that 3 wide receiver offense. Eagles have gotten it going a few times this afternoon, but they have not taken it in. They have put no points on the scoreboard. The way things started out this afternoon, you thought the Giants were going to just be off to the races, but the Eagles' defense, fortunately for them, has tightened and cleared up whatever confusion they showed in that first quarter, and they still trail the Giants 14-0. But it was 14-0 midway through that first quarter, and things were looking very dim. The Eagles defensively have tightened, but offensively they have got to move. They have the 3 wide receivers. They send Kenny Payne to the near side, Charlie Smith in the slot, Harold Carmichael to the far side. The running backs are Campfield and Hogan. 3rd down and 8 as Jaworski drops straight back. Looks, fires to the near side, completes to Charlie Smith, who takes the pass across the 30-yard line up at about the 31. He's bounced out of bounds by Ray Rhodes, but a 1st down for the Eagles right there.
That was the exact play that was called on the sidelines, and it worked exactly as I'm sure the whole thing was designed to work. Charlie Smith and Ken Payne, both wide receivers, out on the right side of the field. Harold Carmichael on the far side. Payne drives the coverage deep. Smith runs a little turnout route and then curls back, and just enough to get the 1st down. Well-executed play.
The Giants now go back to that 30 defense as Troy Archer comes in and Dan Lloyd goes out. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the first half. Jaworski trying to get them going. Eagles bring back the tight end, and they take out Charlie Smith. Rich Osborne in a strong right. Jaworski hands off to Hogan on a delay, who gets a couple of yards, and then he is met by the shoulder of Harry Carson, who drops him along with Brian Kelly. And, Jim, it's almost impossible to call a play without seeing Harry Carson right in there. He just reads so well, and very often you come to broadcast a game or to see a game and you hear this and that and so many things about a ball player, and you come up disappointed. But this guy is in such evidence this afternoon. Billy Werndell tells me he has 9 tackles so far in the first half. A pickup there of just 2 yards, a 2-yard gain by Hogan, 2nd down and 8. The ball at the 34-yard line. Jaworski fakes the handoff, play action. Fires to the far flat to Campfield, who tries to turn upfield, and he comes across the 35, up to the 37 or 38. He's going to be shy of the first down. In fact, he is knocked out by Ray Rhodes, shy of the 40-yard line. There is the 2-minute warning. There's a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 14, the Eagles nothing.
Well, I'm leaving now, don't need no reservation, got no hesitation, got to living on my mind. I'm gonna try by all those other places, look for friendly faces, got to living on my mind. I've got to living on my mind. More and more lately, I'm
Naturally good Pabst. America's premium beer since 1844. Pabst, a lot to look forward to.
The Eagles have a minute and 55 seconds remaining in this first half, in which to take the football 41 yards. They are at the Giants' 39-yard line, or rather 61 yards. They're at the Giants at their own 39-yard line, and they want to put some points on the scoreboard. They're down 14-0, a third down and 3. Orrin Middlebrook comes in the game as one wide receiver. The Eagles now go to 3 wide receivers. Jaworski lines them up. He drops back. He wants to throw on 3rd and 3. He fires down the middle, looking deep for Carmichael, who has it down at the 20, down at the 15. Jaworski to Harold Carmichael. He threw the bomb. Carmichael ultimately upended by Ernie Jones, but Jaworski threw the bomb as perfectly as it can be thrown, and Big Harold ran under it. First down, Eagles, and they are threatening now. 47-yard gain.
Harold is very, very quietly, at least on a national scale, having one super season this year. And on this time, at this particular play, he just comes up with a whale of a catch. He's running downfield, has to look back over his shoulder, spot the football, judge it, and then go up and make the catch. And just an outstanding effort that time by Harold.
I've said it often, and I mean it as sincerely as you can mean anything. If there is a better wide receiver in all of the NFL, I haven't seen him. Harold Carmichael does so many things well. As a blocker, he almost has no equal as far as the wide receivers are concerned. He just absolutely wipes people out. Now he is a bit wiped out himself after that 47-yard completion to get the Eagles into a good shot at scoring some points in the last 1:43 of the first half. But Jaworski just floated that football into the air, and Harold ran under it. Had the man, Ernie Jones, on his back. But Harold extended those arms, and he looked skyward. Very often the most difficult pass to catch is the one not coming over either shoulder, but straight down. And, Jim, that was it right there. He just craned his neck skyward and looked the football into his hands and cradled it into his arms. They will mark the football at the 14-yard line. Jaworski wants some points on that scoreboard at halftime. 14-0, the Giants, 1:43 until the half. The tight end, Rich Osborne, lines up strong left. Carmichael in a spot right. Payne outside of him. The running backs are Campfield and Hogan. Jaworski taking a long look. Giants showing some movement. Jaworski fakes the end around, dropping back, fires over the middle, incomplete, over the hands of Kenny Payne in the end zone. He was well guarded by Larry Mallory, and that time Jaworski faked the end around to Harold Carmichael and may have ultimately thrown it high purposely because Payne was so well covered.
That he was, and Rich Osborne that time did have some open territory to work with down around the 5-yard line. That time when Carmichael went to fake that end around, he drew a lot of attention. Osborne was able to slip out in the clear momentarily, but Ron Jaworski couldn't see him, and I did think you're right. He did throw the ball a little bit high to avoid a sack at this time. Ken Payne, I don't think, had any shot at catching that football.
Well, he had the one interception today that Brad Van Pelt picked off, and hasn't had a lot this season. Second down and 10 for the Eagles. The ball at the Giant 14. The wide receivers are split. The running back's in the eye. Jaworski to Montgomery, who runs over the left side across the 10 and down to the 8. Wilbert Montgomery, like a bolt of lightning, took the football, and he just moved so quickly. Tom Lucan threw a ferocious block, but Wilbert ran through and crossed the 10 and went down to the 8-yard line. A burst of 6 of the quickest yards you ever did see.
And another surprise on the scoreboard. New Orleans 7, Dallas nothing. First period.
Very, very early in that game, though. And have to wait and see. Very often you look up at that scoreboard and you say, hey, how about that? And then you realize they have 3 quarters to go and a lot of things transpire. The Eagles are going to take a timeout right here, and this is their second timeout. The second timeout, so they have one more remaining here in this first half, but has seen them have their offensive problems. But, Jim, I think in that second quarter, the defense, to its credit, really knit together well. They were just in disastrous shape in that first half. They just seemed to have a lot of indecision in that secondary, and I haven't seen a guy more open than I did see Johnny Perkins when he caught that touchdown pass of 30 yards from Pizarczyk. But right here, the Eagles' defense is stiffened. They have organized themselves, and now the offense has the ball in gear.
No question the Giants came out with some new wrinkles in their offensive scheme of things today. They certainly have not been throwing the ball as much as they've thrown it today. They threw on first down an awful lot. They threw on play action in the first period. They did confuse the Eagles secondary and the Eagle linebackers, and they were able to put some points on the board. But the Eagles, of course, can come off with something here. It's going to be a heck of a second half.
A minute and a half remaining in the first half. Eagles trailing the Giants 14-0. A third down and 4. They have the ball at the New York 8. Carmichael lines up in a slot right. Kenny Payne outside of him. The back. Hogan and Montgomery. They are set in the eye. Jaworski turns to Montgomery off tackle. Up the middle goes Montgomery. Touchdown. Wilbert Montgomery behind a great block by Guy Morris and Tom Lucan. And he speeds through for the touchdown. Wilbert Montgomery off that left side like a blur. And there's another $100 a point from Frito-Lay for the Eagles Fly for Leukemia Fund. How about Wilbert?
Give some credit to Dick Vermeil on the sidelines. Of course, that has been a pet play of the Eagles all season long and worked so sensationally against the Redskins. The Eagles had another timeout left, and why not run it? And Wilbert just took it on 2 straight occasions here and knocked off the yardage for a touchdown.
If they can get the extra point, it has to be a big lift at halftime. The snap is high. Nickemeyer being chased. Fires the football, and that will hurt. There's no question about it. The snap was high, and no extra point. Boy, if anything can take some steam out of a brilliant drive, it is that. You try to come back within 7, and the snap went high off the hands of John Shara, and Nickemeyer picked it up, and there was nothing he could do but throw it into the air, and just absolutely nothing. So the Eagles missed the extra point. You know what that did to the Jets at a critical point a week ago? They come all the way down, the Eagles do, and they score on a brilliant 8-yard run by Wilbert Montgomery, but hopefully for Eagles fans, the offense will be able to amount enough second half points so that 1 point does not make a difference. But right now it hurts. Right now it hurts a lot as the Giants lead 14-6, just a bad snap from center. That's the third bad snap of the day.
And no time to relax. There's a minute and 26 seconds on the clock, and the way Pizarczyk is throwing the football, he too can take the Giants downfield in a hurry and get some points on the board. So the defense cannot just walk off now and say, we've got a breather here. They've got to stay in this ball game right down to the final seconds here.
Bob Hammond will line up to the near side, and to the far side is Doug Coder. Nickemeyer kicks the ball, he split kicks it off, side kicks it, and it's just taken by an up man, Maurice Tyler, who falls down across the 40 at the 41. So that time, Nickemeyer appeared to almost be kicking an onside kick purposely for the Eagles to pick it up after the 10 yards, but it did not work as Maurice Tyler just watched it into his arms. And the Giants will play out the last minute and 21 seconds of the half, and they will begin doing so with some pretty decent field position. A little surprised to see that right here. Anything but conservative thinking right there, but I guess the Eagles figuring if they can recover that football, they can have one more good shot at it. They moved so well on the last series. Anyhow, the Eagles are on the board. They trail the Giants 14-6. Pizarczyk in the flat to Jimmy Robinson. 45, midfield, spins away at the Eagle 45, 40, let's move, 35, 30, 25, 20. Jimmy Robinson finally tackled. Finally brought down way downfield at the 15-yard line by Dennis Harrison. But Jimmy Robinson on a short pass spun away from tackler after tackler after tackler, and the Giants end up down at the Eagle 15-yard line, a 44-yard gain.
Eagles had him stopped about 2 or 3 times there. He eluded some tackles. They were shoddy tackles. He's got great speed, the fastest Giant. And Jimmy Robinson turned what was designed to probably be a first down play to get maybe 7 or 8 yards or maybe even get out of bounds. He turns it inside and turns it into a terrific game for the Giants.
Oh, he did a spectacular job right there. A year ago, here at Giant Stadium, we saw Jimmy Robinson, the recipient of an 80-yard touchdown pass from Pizarczyk. This time, that was a bomb. This time, it was just a short pass, and the rest was all speed and agility. He showed the balance. From an Eagles standpoint, they should have had him several times, but they're fortunate as he opened up that they were able to bring him down at all, and that is a testimony to the good speed of Dennis Harrison, who runs better than many, many defensive linemen you'll find. He was out on the clear for a moment, and it looked as if he might break the whole thing off for a touchdown, but the Eagles stopped him at the 15. But the Giants do some damage right there, and they have plenty of operating time with 58 seconds left in the half. They're leading the Eagles 14-6.
The reason the play worked so well, Merrill, for the Giants, Reggie Wilkes blitzed again from his linebacking spot, and he gave Robinson all kinds of room. He almost got his hand on the pass, but once it was thrown over the head of Reggie Wilkes, there was really nobody out there except one Eagle defender, Herman Edwards, and Robinson was able to beat him and then work his way through the rest of the secondary.
Giants driving with 58 seconds remaining in the half, and the Eagles, who had narrowed the gap just seconds ago, now find their back to the wall once again as Pizarczyk winds up and quiets the crowd. He sends Hammond to the left as a wing left. One setback is Doug Coder. Pizarczyk wants to throw. Fires to the corner. Incomplete. It goes off the hands of Jimmy Robinson, and was he ever belted by Bobby Lee Howard, who drew a bead on Robinson, and as the ball touched his hands, Bobby Lee teed off incomplete.
Great reaction from a veteran Howard who's been around for a dozen years. That time it looked like Robinson had run a successful out pattern and was about to come up with a 9 or 10 yard gain, but Howard reacting very well, cut to the outside and broke that play up just as the ball was coming into Robinson's hands.
The Giants on 2nd and 10 will throw 3 wide receivers at the Eagles, Johnny Perkins and Jimmy Robinson and Emery Moorhead. Out to that far side goes Emery Moorhead. The other two guys plotted to the left, the near side as Pizarczyk wants to throw. Quarterback draw, runs up the middle to the 10, to the 5. Joe Pizarczyk. He dropped back 2 steps. He put the football under his arm and came running up the middle. Dennis Harrison makes the stop, but I think that time it was a pre-called play. It wasn't a read. He was too definite about what he wanted to do as he took 2 steps back and raced up the middle.
No question about it. That's what you observe as a quarterback, or at least maybe one of the Giant coaches sends in the reaction. But in a passing situation like this, the first instinct for those middle linebackers, Bill Berge and Frank LeMaster, is to drop right back into the passing lanes. And, of course, when they do that, they leave that middle vulnerable to a quick trap. And there went Pizarczyk with the football right in there, and he got himself about 7 yards.
Jim, the Giants just take their second time out of the half right here, so they will have 1 more remaining. They can talk things over right now, but they're in excellent shape. A team that has had its problems throughout, but they've played better than a fair first half. Joe Pizarczyk, a young quarterback with very little experience. He played last year, but he is in his second year, and he has had a lot of ups and downs. He has undergone an awful lot of criticism. He had some success in the Canadian League. He came over here to New York. They call him Parkway Joe, but in the papers today they were referring to him as Off-Broadway Joe, and not in the most complimentary of ways, but this afternoon he has played very, very well as he has fired the ball 7 for 12, 7 completions and 12 attempts for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a very alert play right there. A couple of times he has scrambled. I didn't know that he was as mobile as he has looked this afternoon, but he has done a good job of scrambling away. That time he just showed a burst up the middle. He has carried the football 2 times this afternoon for 16 yards. 3 wide receivers for the Giants on a 3rd down and 2. Out to the far side comes Emery Moorhead. To the near side. In the slot goes Jimmy Robinson. Outside of him is Perkins. Slant and pattern. And it's intercepted by the Eagles. Bobby Lee Howard. It was intended for Emery Moorhead, who had slanted in. And Bobby Lee Howard pulls the Eagles out of trouble. What a great play by Bobby Lee right there.
I'll tell you, it was a great play because he had to make a tremendous catch. That ball was thrown like a bullet. Pizarczyk faked like he was going to throw a quick out pattern and then dumped one right over the middle, and he threw it right into Bobby Lee Howard's chest, and I think knocked the wind out of Bobby. But he held on. It's just a tremendous catch. That ball is extremely hard to catch by anybody, and when you get an interception on a play like that, it's obviously a great benefit.
I'll tell you, Bobby Lee Howard has done nothing but good things since he's come over here a few weeks ago, and right there he gets them right out of trouble. He already has 2 interceptions. This is his 2nd interception of the year. Right now, we pause 10 seconds for station identification.
Ken Garland.
They're still taking a look at Bobby Lee Howard and Barnes while we have a chance. How about a scoreboard update?
Well, there's excitement all over the place, not only here. St. Louis leading Washington 24-10. The Cardinals had a 24-0 lead in that ball game. They're in the second period. The Redskins are coming back. Tampa Bay on top of Buffalo 10-0. They're also in the second period. New Orleans, as we mentioned, leads Dallas 7-0. They're still in the first period. New England 10 and the New York Jets 7 in the second period, and San Diego and Minnesota tied at 7-7. And Bobby Lee Howard is up on his feet, being helped off the field. And Merrill, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that football just knocked the wind out of it. It was thrown that hard.
It was thrown that hard. It was a slant end pattern as they were looking for Emery Moorhead. They had Moorhead all the way over to the far side by himself, and he ran a simple slant in, and it was just a timing thing where you don't really look for the man that much. You watch him slant, and you just spot the football, and you wing it. But the man who came up with the spot was not more, the football was not Moorhead. It was Bobby Lee Howard who took the position away from Moorhead as he cut right in front of him. Interception, 1st and 10 for the Eagles. They have the football at their own 20. And let's see what they do in the remaining half minute of play. Do they try to put more points on or play conservative? It is just a handoff up the middle to Mike Hogan, who comes across the 20 up to the 22. So on first down, anyhow, they are playing things conservatively.
Well, the Giants secondary, they're backed up about 25 yards off the ball. 3 guys anyway. The strong safety's still in fairly close, and Harry Carson's taking care of everything else.
12 seconds remaining in the first half, and the Eagles are not in any hurry. They're just letting the clock run, and I think they're going to be pretty happy. What they're saying here is we're pretty happy just to be on the scoreboard, and we're happy that there is no further damage thanks to Bobby Lee Howard. And now the gun sounds, and that is the end of the first half. With the score, the Giants 14, the Eagles 6. Back at Giants Stadium, Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak. The Giants will be moving from our right to our left, and they're kicking off to the Eagles here in the second half. Deep for the Eagles, awaiting the kickoff to the far side is Billy Campfield, to the near side, Louis Jamona. Giants leading the Eagles 14-6. The Giants with 2 first-quarter touchdown passes. The Eagles came back late in the second quarter, and then they saved themselves a Giant touchdown when Bobby Lee Howard came off with a big, big interception in those final few seconds. Joe Danello to kick off for the Giants. He approaches the football, and the second half is underway. It's line-driven. It bounces at the 5, and it will roll in and out of the end zone. They will mark it out the 20-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Eagles. They will take over at their own 20. Just a line drive that went through a few people and hit at that 10 and then just skidded into the end zone.
Very effective kick by Joe Danello. The Giants do not cover kicks as well as their coach John McVay would like. That one hit on the low line. Took a bad hop away from Louis Jamona. Otherwise, he was standing at about the 7 in good position for a good return.
The Eagles have played rather well in the third quarter so far this year. They have scored 36 points, which is a heck of a lot better than the 14 that they have opened up with. Total of 14 points in the first quarter, and just had a goose egg to that today. 1st and 10 for the Eagles. Mark the ball at the 20, and motion to the near side comes Osborne. Handoff up the middle, and good running room for Mike Hogan, who comes across the 25 and up to the 26 and 27 before Brad Van Pelt stops Michael there, but he picks up a good 6.5 or 7 yards.
Terry Jackson, the cornerback, injured on that play, holding his right arm, it appears.
I think that's Mallory there, Jim. That is Larry Mallory as he backs up into position. Mallory is the strong safety. A 2nd down and 2, an 8-yard pickup from Mike Hogan. Good first run. Montgomery is back, and he has played so well and takes the handoff and stumbles across the 30-yard line and should have the first down. Wilbur Montgomery had very little space, and he stumbled very early, but he still managed to come across the 30 and should have an Eagle first down. He does. John Mendenhall makes the stop as Wilbur picks up 3.
Mallory, number 34, going off now. You're correct. He was the injured party. He's number 34, Jackson 24. Mallory's had some shoulder problems, and I'm pretty sure it appears as though he's re-injured.
In his place comes Otis McKinney. Otis McKinney, a very high draft choice out of Colorado. 1st and 10 for the Eagles. They have the ball at their own 30. They set the running backs in the eye. It goes to Montgomery on a pitch to the near side. Montgomery to the 35. Montgomery to the 36 to 37. George Martin makes the stop, but right there we saw a very good block by Mike Hogan, and that's what we've spoken about so often, Barnes, about the effectiveness that Mike Hogan has as a lead blocker.
Mike's going to get a breather here. Cleveland Franklin coming in to give him a rest, but that combo of Montgomery running and Hogan blocking is certainly one of the most effective weapons the Eagles have on offense. They've missed it the last month. You saw how effective it was when they went for a touchdown on 2 running plays.
Jack Edelstein tells me that Montgomery has carried 16 times for 73 yards in the afternoon. 2nd down and 4 for the Birds. The running backs are split. The wide receivers are split. Jaworski bobbles off the snap and then just brings it in and goes forward for maybe a yard at the very most. But Jaworski that time had some problems with the exchange, and he just said rather than try to take the football and still hold it and hand it off to somebody else, he just gathered it in and fell forward for a yard.
They're down and 2 here. The big play for the Eagles. They've had trouble converting this kind of situation in the past. However, they are running very well today to their left, to the right side of the Giant defense.
Carmichael lines up wide to the near side. Out to the far side is Kenny Payne on the 3rd down and 2. Cleveland Franklin in at the up back. Behind him is Wilbur Montgomery. Jaworski turns, gives to Montgomery, who cracks into the line of scrimmage, comes up to the 40, but I don't think he has it. Wilbert Montgomery tried to go off left tackle, and the Giants' defense stiffened. Troy Archer was right there, and Jack Gregory and Brian Kelly, and they met him like a wall, and Harry Carson for the umpteenth time this afternoon in on the tackle, and the Giants have held. The Eagles a good yard short of the first down yardage they needed. They will have to punt.
Botch snap on second down there proves to be a rather costly play, a wasted play, as the Eagles had a good running game and a drive going.
Kind of errors that hurt so much. Jimmy Robinson to the near side. To the far side is Bob Hammond. They will await the punt by Mike Michel at their own 20-yard line. Dennis Franks in the snap. This time it's a good one. Michel gets it away, but not one of his better punts. It is taken by Robinson at the 30, spins across the 35, and he is met head-on by Cleveland Franklin at the 37-yard line. So the Giants will go to work from there, following a 29-yard punt. There is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants still leading the Eagles 14-6.
At Datsun, we don't let up for a second. We are driven to be first. Take our Datsun King Cab. First small pickup that doubles as a car. Console, opera windows, cut tile carpeting, steel-belted radials, and the first for pickups of any size, reclining bucket seats. Behind those seats, a small truck exclusive, up to 11 cubic feet of storage space.
All the comforts of a car.
All the top of a truck. The King Cab, one of 3 Datsun pickups. #1 import for 19 straight years. Whichever one you choose, remember, there's one quality that sets Datsun apart from all other pickups. Datsun quality. There's only one place to get a King Cab, at your Datsun dealer. Now.
.7:34 remaining to be played here in the third quarter. Giants holding on to a 14-6 lead, and now they go back on offense. In the ball game at the left corner for the Eagles is Johnny Outlaw. Bobby Lee Howard played the first half, and he played very well, coming up with a key interception. However, when he took that interception, he was shaken up and has not been back. So Johnny Outlaw is in his place as the Giants take the offensive control here in the second half. Pizarchik on first down gives off to Coder, who runs to the near side, to the 40, to the 45, to the 47 comes Doug Coder before he's stopped by Herman Edwards. But Doug Coder, very good yardage right there behind the block by his running mate Willie Spencer, and he turned the corner well.
Pizarchik has been throwing an awful lot on first down, and that time he went to the run. He's mixing up his play selection very well here and catching the Eagles in defenses that are difficult to contain the plays that he's calling.
Coder carrying that time for 9 yards. He went into this game with a 4.8 average. So far this afternoon, 7 carries, 4.28. So just a 4 yards average today for Doug Coder. Second down and 1. Hand off to Coder, who comes through. He pays for it at midfield, but he gets the first down. Bill Berge and Frank LeMaster really crunch him to the ground, but he only needed about a half yard, and he got a full yard, so the ball is spotted right at the center of the field, and the Giants have a 1st and 10. Bob Hammond comes in. He replaces Spencer. So it's Hammond and Coder in the Giant backfield. Robinson and Perkins are the wide receivers. Perkins to the near side. Robinson to the far side. Hammond is the tailback. Coder is the upback. 1st and 10. Pizarchik rolls on it. A quarterback keeper comes across midfield, but only gets 1 yard. Down to the 49, down to the Eagle 49. Again, a play designed for Pizarchik to run. As he took the ball, took the snap, he wheeled to his right, tried to come off tackle on a quarterback keeper, but picked up just 1 yard.
I think there's an option designed in that play. He has to read the linebacker, Reggie Wilkes. That time, Reggie took a shot at Bobby Hammond coming around, left Pizarchik with nobody to dump it to, so he had to turn it upfield.
Perkins comes out. James Thompson comes in a wide receiver for the Giants and lines up to the near side. The running backs are split. Robinson in a slot left. Second down and 9 for the Giants. Play action. Pizarchik looking, being chased. Rolls to the right side. Still running. Across midfield and out of bounds, a couple of yards past the original line of scrimmage as he was knocked out down at the Eagle 46 by Bill Berge. And for a moment there, Jim, I thought there was going to be a clipping penalty against the Giants. Dennis Harrison in pursuit. They almost got him.
Bobby Hammond, the intended receiver that time, got knocked on his rear end that time, and he was the intended guy out in the flat. Pizarczyk wanted to dump it off to him, and of course he wasn't there, and then that set up the scramble situation.
Picks up only a couple of yards. Johnny Perkins comes back in the ballgame. Ken Clark comes in for the Eagles. Pizarczyk, 4 carries for 20 yards in the afternoon. He's thrown very well. 3rd and 6 for the Giants as the Eagles' defense has to stiffen. The running backs are split. The wide receivers are split. Pizarczyk straight back to throw. Looking, floats the pass over the middle, complete to Coder, but he doesn't have the first down. I don't think he has the first down. We'll have to see where they spot his forward progress, but he slipped out of the backfield. He was hit by Pizarczyk, and then Frank Lemaster hit him. But he is short of the first down. But the Giants, the fans are screaming, go for it, and Coach John McVay is concurring. The Giants will indeed go for it as they line up with some heavy artillery, and they bring Zonke in the game and Willie Spencer in the game. So they have the big running back, and they bring in Gary Shirk. They will operate with 2 tight ends. Shirk and Al Dixon. Zonke and Spencer. Pull the wide receivers. Calling is Pizarczyk. Hands off to Zonke. Forcing his way forward. Does he have it? We'll have to see where they mark it. There is no early indication, although Zonke and the ball ended up inside the 40. The Eagles had contained him momentarily. The legs continued to churn, and he has the first down. They needed a yard, and Zonke didn't get them much more than that, but he did get them that yard and a half. They have a first down inside the Eagle 40-yard line, down at the 39. 1st and 10 for the Giants. 8:20 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Giants up 14-6. Out to the far side comes Johnny Perkins. In the slot is Jimmy Robinson. The running backs are Hammond. Then Coder back in the game, and it is Coder on the carry. And he comes across the 40 down to about the 38. Charlie Johnson and Frank Lemaster in on the stop. We pause 10 seconds for station identification.
When the Eagles aren't playing, we're playing the best of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. 610 WIP, Metro Media Radio, Philadelphia. We play your songs.
Again, a special welcome today to our many listeners, our millions of listeners in the American Forces Radio Network. Today's game being broadcast by over 500 stations around the world. Hope you're enjoying the action from Giant Stadium in East Rutherford. The Giants with a 2nd down and 9 as Emory Moorhead comes from the game and goes in motion to the near side. Pizarczyk throwing over the middle. Pass batted into the air, intended for Johnny Perkins, and the pass was deflected off the hands of Herman Edwards, who raised the hand and just knocked the pass into the air, intended for Perkins. Good play by Herman.
Good play, too, by Perkins. A fine route. He did everything but catch the ball. He drifted right underneath the coverage that time and found an open area in the deep middle seam of the zone and had the football in both hands momentarily, but off it went. A break for the Eagles.
Into the game comes Jimmy Robinson. And again for the Eagles comes Ken Clark. Ken Clark replacing Charlie Johnson on the passing situations. This is one of those. 3rd down and 9. Ball inside the 40 at the 39, and Pizarczyk wants to throw. Retreat. Flip the pass to Hammond at the 40. 35. 30. Hammond to the 29. Close to the first down. Bob Hammond took the little swing pass, and he kept bouncing off people until he came inside the 30, down close to the 29-yard line, and very close to a first down before Bill Berge stopped him. But Bob Hammond showed something there, played it very well.
Downfield tackling, again, a problem for the Eagles. They had Hammond, they had a chance to stop him outside the 30, but he broke a tackle and was able to squirm inside the 30, just enough for the first down. The referee's making that signal now. Another clutch situation for the Eagle defense here.
Well, we have seen the Eagles defense bend before, but we have seen them spring to life, and we have seen them stiffen when the teams get inside their 30 or closer. Willie Spencer comes back in the game. He'll run with Coder in the backfield. Giants leading the Eagles 14-6. 6:51 left in the 3rd quarter. Eagles want to get the ball back to their offense. The running backs are split. Pass in the flat to Robinson at the 30. Cuts to his right at the 25. And down to about the 22-yard line comes Jimmy Robinson before he is wrapped up by Carl Hairston. But just a quick little pass in the slot out to Jimmy Robinson, who started to his left, turned back upfield, and picked up a couple.
Giants got away with a clipping penalty there. One of the blockers coming out of the offensive line threw a clip in the Eagles secondary as Robinson was catching the football and trying to break free. Dick Vermeil screaming on the sidelines, but to no avail.
Picks up a total of 7 yards. It is second down and 3 with the football spotted at the Eagles' 21-yard line. The running backs are split. James Thompson now in at wide receiver to the near side. The handoff to Coder on a sweep left. Coder to the 20. Coder to the 15, and a flag goes down. A flag goes down in the vicinity of Bill Berge and J.T. Turner, who were locked up at about the 20-yard line. But Doug Coder ran for a first down. It is a holding penalty against the Giants, and the Eagles get a break right there.
J.T. Turner, I guess, the culprit. Coder was able to turn that corner despite the presence of 3 Eagles on the outside, and I guess they're going to whistle Turner for holding Bill Berge.
Giants have been hit, Barnes, with 4 penalties throughout the afternoon for 33 yards. The Eagles 1 penalty for 5 yards. So it hasn't been the penalties that have hurt the Eagles. It has been a couple of breakdowns in the defensive secondary in the first quarter and some lack of offensive spark throughout. Johnny Perkins comes back in the ball game. He replaces James Thompson. Holding penalty being called by the official, officially now on J.T. Turner. It is a second down at 11, and it will bring the Giants ball back to the 30-yard line. Back to the Eagle 30. Second down at 11. Out to the near side comes Johnny Perkins. He's caught 1 touchdown bomb already. To the far side, Jimmy Robinson. Pazarchik looks towards Robinson and throws over the middle to his tight end, Gary Shirk, who catches the pass at the 25 and scrolls forward to about the 23. Reggie Wilkes and Randy Logan made the stop. But Pazarchik dropped back and took a long look for Jimmy Robinson on that right sideline. He said he's covered. He flipped the pass over the middle to Shirk, and Shirk picks up several yards. It'll be a third down and 4. 5:29, 5:28 remaining in the third quarter. Giants leading by 8, 14-6. James Thompson comes in replacing Johnny Perkins. Jimmy Robinson stays in and goes wide to the far side. The running back's in a wide set. It is Willie Spencer to the left, Coder to the right. The handoff to Coder, who tries to sweep, and he cannot. He is grabbed around the legs, around the ankles at the 20-yard line. He is a good yard and a half shy of the first down as Carl Hairston stops him. Again, the crowd is chanting, "Go for it, go for it, go for it." They are short, Jim, and I think they're going to go for the, well, let's see. Are they going to go for the field goal or try and pick up the yardage?
Well, it appears to me the field goal team is readying itself to come in here and try one. Joe Danilo, the kicker, I see him on the field. Fourth, and this time it's about 1.5 yards. So the last time they only had a half a yard. This is a little bit different situation. Danilo will kick from the 27, 37 yards in all.
He's had a very fine year. He's 16 for 24, as long as the 52. So compared to that, this is a chip shot. Here's the snap. The kick is up. It's got the distance, and it is perfect. Joe Danilo kicks the field goal, and the Giants go up 17-3. Or 17-6. 17-6. The Giants leading the Eagles 17-6. There is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 17, the Eagles 6.
Let's take a minute to talk about neighborhoods. If you and your family are planning to move in the near future, you've probably given a lot of thought to the kind of neighborhood you'd like to live in. Suppose you have children. Then schools are a #1 priority. Convenient shopping and transportation are naturally important, as are medical facilities and leisure time activities. The Corman Corporation thinks about these things, too, and that's why they build so many beautiful homes in the Chamonix Valley. The schools here are excellent, some of the finest in Bucks County. Shopping is a real pleasure at the exciting Neshaminy Mall. Public transportation is readily available, and there's always lots to do in your free time. But the best thing about Neshaminy Valley are the 10,000 people like yourselves who already live here and love it. So no matter what kind of home you're looking for, whether it's an apartment, your first townhouse, or a beautiful single home, look at Neshaminy Valley. The Corman Corporation has lots of living ideas here for the next big move in your life.
Well, field goal right there by Joe Danilo has given the Giants the lead of 17-6. 4 minutes and 21 seconds remaining to be played here in the third quarter. Eagles to go back on offense as Danilo gets set to kick off. To the far side is Billy Campfield. To the near side, Louis Gemona. Here is the kickoff. It is high. Gemona takes to the yard deep. He's coming out. Gemona to the 5, 10, 15, down at the 20. Louis Gemona did his darndest to get some yardage, but he was tripped up at the 15 and went down at the 20. Emery Moorhead making the stop. 4:11. Still plenty of time for the Eagles. 4:11 in the third quarter remaining. The Eagles now trailing the Giants, though, 17-6. Giants scored on a 19-yard pass, Pizarchik to Bob Hammond. In that first quarter, a 30-yard pass, Pizarchik to Perkins. Eagles came back in the second quarter on an 8-yard run by Wilbur Montgomery, but the Giants have added 3 more on the Dinello field goal. They lead 17-6. First and 10 for the Eagles, the ball on their 20. The wide receivers are split. The backs are in the eye. Jaworski turns, play action, looking, being chased, incomplete. He does not get the intentional grounding flag, although it could have been a possibility as he was being rushed and threw the ball several yards shy of Mike Hogan, who had turned around in the flat, and he was being rushed by Troy Archer. And there are times, Jim, when you see that hairline call, that intentional grounding call, called on a play very similar to that.
Well, I think the classic example is down in Dallas, almost a very similar throw, as you say, threw it directly into the ground, but with that big giant hanging on his back, I guess, and there was a receiver out in the flat, the officials elected to non-call it.
Troy Archer, the big right tackle, is getting up. He is on his feet. He was shaken up on that play. 4 minutes and 6 seconds, and the Eagles have themselves a second down and 10. Ball on the 20, and the Birds with a lot of work to do if they're going to get back in this thing. If they're going to win that number 7 that they're off after. Giants have lost 3 straight weeks, but they turned it on in the first quarter this afternoon. Eagles defense stiffened in that second quarter, but the Giants came down with a few key first downs. A couple of big third down plays, a big fourth down play. And they got Joe Dinello the operating room he needed. They got him the position to kick a field goal. Second down and 10 for the Eagles as they await time to be back in. And now they break from the huddle. Gary Jeter is in the ballgame at right defensive tackle, replacing Troy Archer. Eagles starting out with 3 wide receivers. Jaworski, second down and 10. The ball still at the 20. The backs in an open set. Jaworski taking that long read. He's back to throw. Fires the pass for Carmichael. Incomplete at the 35 or 36-yard line. And Jaworski had him open. He had him open. Ernie Jones was in coverage, but he was wide open, and Ron just overthrew.
Harold beat the cornerback right up on his nose that time and then cut in behind him. There was no reaction deep. Brad Van Pelt, of all people, a linebacker, was flowing into the deep zone, so there was plenty of area out there for Harold to catch the ball and turn it upfield for a big, big gain, but a little bit overthrown, and Ron Jaworski counting himself on the helmet back there knows it.
Terry Jackson, 5 feet 10, and Harold had him wrapped up. That's a third down and 10 for the Eagles. The football at the 20. Again, 3 wide receivers as the Giants look for Jaworski to throw. Ron straight back, looking, firing over the middle, completes to Carmichael across the 30-yard line, up at about the 31 or 32, I believe. And if they stop the football, where I believe they will, Harold will have another first down.
What makes that a great play, of course, is there's a full blitz underwork there for the Giants. Jaworski picked it up, or rather give Guy Morris credit, too, for picking it up. He had to take on that Harry Carson. Great blocking up front. Ron Jaworski threw it to Mr. Clutch, I guess you could call him today, Harold Carmichael. He come up with a catch just inside first down yardage.
He's Mr. Clutch almost every Sunday. He has 4 receptions for 88 yards. The Giants now go into a 40 defense as the Eagles have a first and 10. First and 10 for the Birds. The football at the 31. Out to the near side comes Kenny Payne. Carmichael lines up strong to the left side. Handoff goes to the deep man, Wilbur Montgomery, and the Giants line stiffens and sends Wilbur back. Wilbur Montgomery tried the left side, the right side of the Giants line, and he got nothing. Gary Jeter was the first man to hit Wilbur, but there is a perfect case of the defense charging, really charging just as the snap comes and timing it perfectly and no gain at all. And there is a Eagle shaken up. I believe it's Wilbert.
It is Wilbert Montgomery lying on the 30-yard line. Hopefully he got the wind knocked out of him, nothing more than that. Took a wicked shot that time, about chest high.
Gary Jeter is the man who hit him. Gary Jeter just came up and really put it to Wilbert, and he just went straight down like a lead weight. They're going to take a timeout right now, so there is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants leading the Eagles 17-6.
For all we've shared, the good times and the laughter, after all that we've been through, no other beer will do. But our
costly ingredients than Barndecker. The choicest barley and the richest imported hops give Barndecker its distinctive smooth taste. Barndecker, the most expensive taste in beer.
After all that we've been through, no other beer will do. But Barndecker, oh, Barndecker.
Giants 17, the Eagles 6. That is the score with 3 minutes remaining, 3 minutes and 2 seconds to be specific in the third quarter here at Giant Stadium on a beautiful sunlit afternoon in East Rutherford, New Jersey. At the moment, the Eagles have the football. They have a second down and 11, the ball on their own 31-yard line. And Wilbur Montgomery, the little running back who came back today for the first time in 3 weeks, is on his feet. He had hit the Giants' left side of the line and went down after Troy Archer really had the shoulder into him, and he was slow getting up. They took a long look at him, but now Wilbur is walking off under his own power, and Barnes, I'll tell you, that's good to see.
Nothing more than the wind knocked out of him, I'm sure, Merrill. On the scoreboard, the Dallas has tied the New Orleans Saints. They're 7-7 now in the second period. Atlanta 7, Chicago nothing at the in the second period. Cleveland 14 and Baltimore 10 also in the second period. Another second quarter score, Seattle 3, Kansas City nothing.
Billy Campfield, a very able replacement, but no Wilbur Montgomery comes in the game. He will trail Mike Hogan. Hogan, the lead back. Second down at 11 as the back shift out of the eye. They're an open set. The wide receivers are split. Payne to the near side. Carmichael to the far side. Jaworski setting, giving ground. Fires to Hogan in the flat. Jukes a man at the 25 and goes down hard at the 28. Mike Hogan did well to get back that far because the Giants had it read perfectly. He got away from one man at the 25. Brian Kelly finally brought him down, but all of that gave the Eagles nothing but a 2-yard loss. 2 yards in reverse. So the Eagles going backwards with 2:14 remaining in the third quarter. They trail the Giants 17-6. They have a 3rd and 13. Eagles going with 3 wide receivers as Osborne comes out and Charlie Smith comes in. Smith will line up in a slot to the far side. Outside of him is Kenny Payne. To the near side is Harold Carmichael. One man on Carmichael at the moment. See if that changes. It's Terry Jackson as the Giants take a blitz. Jaworski back. Has time. Looking. Floating a pass for Carmichael. Intercepted. Intercepted by Ernie Jones. Across midfield. To the 40, to the 35. Ernie Jones. The Giants have the football in Eagle territory. As Jaworski looks deep. He floated a pass. There were a couple of Eagles in the same zone, Jim, and I don't know how that happened. But I believe Kenny Payne was the deep man. Harold Carmichael was the short man. And both were no more than 4 yards apart, just surrounded by Giants.
Well, you sure make it easy for your free safety when you run 2 wide receivers right down the middle of the field, almost shoulder to shoulder. And that's the reason why you come up with an interception.
Giants have the football. They are down at the Eagle 35-yard line. A big break for New York. Then the wide receivers to the far side. A 21-yard return of the interception by Jones. Slotted to the right is Jimmy Robinson. Dan Dornick in the backfield now with Coder, but Pazorchik to throw on first down. Looking deep. Going for Shirk. Incomplete. Going for Gary Shirk. And the pass is down and away. Randy Logan and Herman Edwards in deep coverage and the tight end Gary Shirk. But again, Pazorchik was all day back there as he took his drop. And he looked and he went for his tight end on a pattern that is not usually run that deeply by the tight end. But the Eagles in good coverage that time to save a touchdown.
Well, it certainly is obvious that the Giants have thrown open the playbook today. They're passing on first down, second down, mixing it all up. Very inconsistent to what they've been doing all season long. And they really have taken advantage of the Eagles on defense.
Bob Hammond comes in. He replaces Willie Spencer. On a sweep left, it goes to Hammond, who tries to turn the corner at the 35. He cannot, as Reggie Wilkes does a good job of bouncing him out of bounds. Jack Edelstein points out something very interesting, and that is that neither team has sacked the quarterback yet this afternoon. And the Giants have done well in that department. The Giants, going into this game, have 26 sacks. As a matter of fact, George Martin has 10 by himself. The Eagles had 22 sacks, but their total has fallen off in the last several weeks. But neither team has come up with the sack yet today. But this would be an excellent time for the Eagles to get their first, as the Giants have a 3rd down and 7. They have the football at the Eagle 32-yard line. They split the wide receivers. Emery Moorhead comes in. He's to the near side. Johnny Perkins to the far side. the running backs in an open set. Pizarchik looks over the middle, completes the pass to Coder, who gives ground, and he is pulled down for a loss by Reggie Wilkes. Doug Coder caught the pass over the middle, considerably shy of the first down, but he must have given 5 yards in ground before Frank Lemaster and Reggie Wilkes put him down. A loss on the play by the Giants.
Just a breakdown there by Coder. He's supposed to turn that upfield. He was within 2 yards of making a first down when he caught the football, but just lost all consciousness as to where he was on the field, and then turned it into a 2-yard loss by running directly backwards.
David Jennings comes in to punt the ball for the New York Giants. Jim Petersacks the snap. Here is the punt by Jennings. It is floating and bouncing at the goal line and rolling through the end zone. So they will bring it out to the 20-yard line, and it is from there where the Eagles must operate. Just 34 seconds remaining to be played here in the third quarter. The Birds are trailing the Giants 17-6. A 37-yard punt right there by David Jennings. But he does the job as there is no run back by John Chera, and they just bring it out to the 20-yard line. Eagles of 80 yards to go. Eagles offense has had its bright moments, but also its disastrous ones. Their last drive appeared to be moving, but a pass intended for Howard Carmichael or Kenny Payne was picked off by the Giants and brought back. Jaworski on the afternoon, 10 for 22, 113 yards and 2 interceptions. Wilbur Montgomery is okay. He's back in the Eagles lineup. He's the tailback as they start out in the I. Mike Hogan the upback. Jaworski on a pitch right to Montgomery, who comes across the 20 and does well just to get to the 22 before the Giants are waiting to put him down. Gary Jeter, the guy who sent him out of the game the last time, hits him along with Brad Van Pelt. Wilbur with a pickup of 3 yards on the carry. Clock showing 16 now, 15 seconds remaining in that third quarter, and the Eagles are going to have to come up with a heck of a fourth to pull this thing out. Giants doing most of their offensive damage in that first quarter.
St. Louis hanging on. They had 24-0 lead over the Redskins. It's now 24-17. They're in the third period.
And that is the end of our third quarter as the gun sounds. There is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 17, the Eagles 6.
In 1969, Jackie Stewart won his first World Racing Drivers' Championship. He repeated in 1971, then again in 1973. What Jackie Stewart doesn't know about cars hasn't been written.
I do know that cars just don't perform the way they used to. One of the reasons is the unleaded gasoline that the new engines call for. Unfortunately, most unleadeds don't have the power that gasolines used to have. Well, Getty Unleaded Regular does. It delivers the kind of power you got from gasoline before they took the lead out. Getty Unleaded Regular actually delivers more power than most other major unleadeds. As an ex-racing driver, that appeals to me. And while Getty Unleaded Regular delivers more power, it costs less than most other major unleadeds. I don't know how Getty does it. But as a Scotsman, that really appeals to me.
Getty Unleaded Regular. More power for less money.
Merrill, Reese, and Jim Barniak back at Giants Stadium in East Rutherford as we get set for the start of the fourth quarter. The Giants are leading the Eagles 17-6, and the Giants scoring 14 points of it came in the first quarter on touchdown passes of 19 and 30 yards from Pizarchik to Hammond and Perkins. The Eagles came back near the end of that second quarter on a Montgomery 8-yard run, but the point after was blocked, which certainly hurt their spirits. That was the score at the half, 14-6 the Giants. The only scoring in the third quarter was a 37-yard field goal by Joe Danello, and that is how we stand heading into the fourth. The Giants up 17-6. It's certainly not that long a road back, Jim. The Eagles need a couple of touchdowns, and they have to stop the Giants.
Giants have been very successful at remaining mistake-free. They have not fumbled. They have not turned the ball over as a result of an interception. They've been able to control the ball on the ground throughout a number of drives, and that is the reason why now the Eagles are really faced with a tough task of coming up here and scoring twice. They're going to have to get some turnovers to make it a little bit easier, obviously.
Eagles will open this fourth quarter with the ball on their own 23-yard line, a second down and 7. They will operate with 3 wide receivers as Carmichael lines up wide to the near side. Payne and Smith. Smith is in the slot. Payne wide to the far side. The back's in an open set. Jaworski on the draw to Montgomery, who comes across the 25 up to the 26 to 27, and a flag goes down. And I am not certain, but judging from the timing on the thing, it could be personal foul against the Giants.
That may indicate a face mask. They had Wilbert rather collared around the neck, and I think that's what it's going to be, a face mask call against the Giants on the play. Wilbert was a yard short of the first down. This will move it well beyond that.
Okay, the personal foul, specifically the face mask against the Giants, and they move the football up to the 34-yard line, and that's a break for the Eagles, who get a first down. Wilbert Montgomery, back in the lineup for the first time today, first time in 2.5 weeks, has had himself a very fine afternoon. He's been banged around plenty, but he has still managed to carry the ball 20 times for 82 yards. 82 for Wilbert, working on another 100-yard afternoon. But more importantly, he wants the Eagles back in this ball game. First and 10. They're in a set left. It's Hogan on a reverse to Carmichael, who runs around the right side. 35, 40, 45, midfield, 45. Harold Carmichael out of bounds at the Giant 45. A double reverse works to perfection. Hogan, the Carmichael first down. Eagles, right block, Sizemore in the Giant territory.
Jerry Sizemore did a great job of stealing off his side, but also the Giants, Brad Van Pelt particularly, he just completely went for the fake, and no one on that entire left side prepared to stop that play, and Harold got into the open field and then showed some nifty inside and outside cutting. Moved it up for a big gain.
Very similar to the play the Eagles worked against the Jets a week ago, but that time the final recipient was Kenny Payne. This time it's Carmichael. First and 10 for the Birds. They're at the Giant 45. The back's in the eye. In motion to the far side goes the tight end Osborne. Handoff. Up the middle comes Wilbert Montgomery, who is spun down at the Giant 43-yard line by Dan Lloyd. But Wilbert with a couple of yards right there. It's funny, I watched them work this play at practice this week, Jim, and as many times as I saw them run it, I don't think it ever worked quite as perfectly as it did right there. It sometimes takes a lot of time with somebody as big and lumbering as Harold Carmichael to get underway, as opposed to somebody like Kenny Payne, who is more of a bursting-type sprinter. But Carmichael did very well and showed a great move. A pickup of only one on the last carry by Wilbert Montgomery. A second down and 9. The ball at the 43. Handoff Montgomery up the middle. And this time he cracks across the 40 and down to the 39-yard line before Brian Kelly stops him there. Jack Gregory also in on the tackle. Wilbert Montgomery getting a lot of work. That is his 22nd carry of the afternoon. We have 13:46 remaining in the fourth quarter, and the Giants are leading the Eagles 17-6. Montgomery comes out of the backfield now. He'll come out of the game, and replacing him comes Billy Campfield. The Eagles will also operate on this third down and 5 with 3 wide receivers. Billy Campfield is the best receiver among the running backs, and that's why he's in. Mike Hogan, the best blocker, and that's why he is the up block. Up back, and Jaworski gives off to Campfield on a running play, and he goes across the 40, but he is shy. Well, they tried to get the Giants thinking pass. Instead, they went with a running play, a simple off-tackle handoff to Billy Campfield, and he goes down at the line of scrimmage, and in comes the punting team. Offense sputters again.
A little bit surprised that the Eagles continue to go to the running game here late, especially in lieu of the fact that the Giants secondary, one of the more porous in the National Football League.
See for the Giants is Ernie Jones. He will drop back as a single safety. Eagles punter Mike Michel, who has done some good fielding today, gets the snap, takes a step forward, and he punts it high and hangs it up, and it will coast into the end zone and go out. However, there is a flag thrown back at the Giants' 38-yard line. So we will have to see what the Eagles, what the call is right here, but very often you will see that a man released illegally.
Well, what happened, too, Mike Michel delayed a little bit as though he was going to fake punting and then looked downfield and then went through with the punt. But when he did that, he threw the timing of the whole coverage off, and I think you're right, there were some Eagles illegally downfield. Giants, of course, do have the option of forgetting it. They will get the ball on the 20-yard line.
That's exactly what they are going to do. They are going to decline the penalty and take over first and 10 on their own 20, and the Giants have the scoreboard and the clock in their favor. There's a timeout on the field at the score. The Giants leading the Eagles 17-6.
My wife and I were out looking at new cars, and I saw this car. I mean, fantastic. I said to her, honey, this is it. This is the one. And she said, honey, see that little job over there? That's the one. And I said, Provident National Bank has 48-month new car loans. With the lower monthly payments, we can afford the car we really want.
The
Providence 48-month money may be the answer for you. Say you want to buy a $7,200 car. If you qualify, you put $1,800 down. Your total payment is $6,640.80. The annual percentage rate is 10.54%. The finance charge is $1,240.80. And your monthly payment is only $138.35. Ask the Provident about 48 months money. We want to help you buy the car you really want. At Provident National Bank, member FDIC.
We have about 12 and a half minutes remaining in this fourth quarter. The Giants on top of the Eagles, 17-6. The Giants with the football first and 10 at their own 20, following the punt by Mike Michel. Giants that declined the penalty against the Eagles may take over. But the Giants in command, Coder and Spencer are the running backs. Out to the near side is Johnny Perkins. The handoff to Coder, who tries to turn the corner, reverses field, and he's thrown for a loss of 2 by Reggie Wilkes. So Coder tried to come around that right corner. He could not. We paused 10 seconds for station identification. Eagles defense had a nightmarish first quarter. In particular, the secondary did, but since then they have played well, only giving up 3 additional points. Dan Dornick is in there in the backfield with Bob Hammond. Giants with a second down and 11, following the loss of 1 by Coder. Wide receiver split. Pizarchik hands off inside to Dornick, and the big rookie comes up across the 25-yard line before he is hit by Frank Lemaster. Dornick, in his first year out of Washington State, 6'3", 210 pounds, and he was playing very well before he was injured. It'll be a third down and 5 for the Giants. Spot the football at the 25. 11:20 remaining to be played in the fourth quarter. The Giants in no danger at the moment. They are leading the Eagles 17-6. Eagles defense has to stop them right here, and the offense has to go to work. Emery Moorhead comes in the game replacing Jimmy Robinson. He lines up to the near side. Perkins to the far side. Pizarchik now goes with the reverse to Perkins, who crosses the 20, and then he is boxed in and knocked out of bounds by the Eagles. So Pizarchik that time handed off to Hammond, who reversed the ball to Johnny Perkins, but a very intelligent play by Dennis Harrison, who read it like a book, and he knocked Perkins out of bounds.
Good recovery there, too, by Randy Logan down in there, breaking up the blocking pattern, and that enables, of course, the other guys to come in and make the stop.
A pickup of 3 on the carry, and that is all. And now the Giants send in David Jennings, their strong-footed punter. Deep for the Eagles is John Shara. Shara would like to break one. He'd love to give them some great field position. Here's the snap. Jennings, not a good one. He line drives it, but it goes over the head of Shara. John got it, finding it batted by the Giants. It is being picked up, and down with the football goes Vince Papali. The ball was driven over the head of John Shara. Immediately, it did not look like a good punt. The ball was batted in the air by Otis McKinley, and let's see where they spot it. Ultimately, it was brought down by Vince Papali, and Papali held on.
Quite a mistake by John Shara and a heck of a play by McKinney. John Shara tried to field the ball over his shoulder on the dead run. McKinney came along and just swatted the ball down toward the Giants' goal line because, of course, behind him are a whole bunch of teammates, and you got the percentages going for you if that football is bouncing toward your goal line. Vince Papali, though, a great reaction by him as well as he falls down the football. He was the only Eagle. There were about 6 Giants with an opportunity to field that ball.
All right, Jim, we're going to take a timeout right now. There is a timeout on the field with the score, the Giants 17, the Eagles 6.
Here's a tip for Eagles fans. The next time you visit the snack section of your local supermarket, pick up a package of the best-tasting pretzels anywhere. Rolled Gold Brand pretzels from Frito-Lay. Rolled Gold Brand pretzels have that lightly salted, buttery taste that's everything you'd expect in a pretzel and then some. Enjoy them at home or bring some along when you come to the game. Look for Rolled Gold Brand pretzels in the blue and gold package. Rolled Gold Brand pretzels from Frito-Lay.
Fans, this is head coach Dick Vermeil. Once again, the people at Frito-Lay have joined the Philadelphia Eagles to fight a tough opponent, the dreaded disease leukemia. As you probably know, there are a lot of fine people who are dedicating all their time and efforts to combat this terrible disease, and progress is being made. But research and treatment take money, lots of money. This year, for every single point scored by the Eagles, Frito-Lay will donate $100 to the Fly for Leukemia Fund of the Children's Hospital. And every penny of that money will go directly to research and treatment. We'll do everything we can to score points. And are grateful to Frito-Lay for their generous contribution to such a worthy cause.
First down for the Eagles. They have the football, but they are 92 yards away from the Giants' end zone. 92 yards. First and 10 at the Eagle 8. Jaworski splits the wide receiver, splits the running back. Hogan and Campfield in there now for the Birds. The handoff to Campfield, who comes off left tackle. He crosses the 10 and comes up to the 12 before Brad Van Pelt makes the stop. A very weird play. The ball came gingerly off the foot of the punter, David Jennings. It never got into the air very much at all. It was a low-line drive that obviously had to touch the shoulder or the finger or something of John Shara before it was batted by the Giants and ultimately recovered by the Eagles. It'll be a 2nd down and 7. The ball at the 12. The wide receivers are split. Carmichael to the near side. Payne to the far side. Running backs in an open set. Campfield to the left. Hogan to the right. Play action as Jaworski fools the Giants. Fires for Carmichael, complete at the 30, and he's hit and goes down. Carmichael with a well-delivered pass by Jaworski. First down, Eagles. Jones and McKinney makes the stop.
Jones and McKinney hit Harold Carmichael about as hard as two people can hit one. Harold was the first one up, and they're both on their knees out there looking at each other like, what do we have to do to that guy?
Harold Carmichael with 4 or more receptions in 6 consecutive games. He is playing so well. Football is spotted up at the 30. Pick up right there of 18 yards. 18 big yards for the Eagle first down. We'll keep that careful check on the clock. It shows 9:17 remaining in the 4th quarter. Giants leading 17-6 as Jaworski retreats. Looks, fires, pass incomplete. Almost picked off by Terry Jackson. Ernie Jones also over there having a shot at it. It was intended for Harold Carmichael on that far side. But that time the Giants were in perfect coverage. Terry Jackson was the man who got the hand on it. Also Ernie Jones.
Ron Jaworski anticipating that Harold's just going to have single coverage or at worst perhaps a linebacker and a cornerback. But that time both the cornerback and the safety were reading Harold. Ron Jaworski threw it into that coverage, a risky pass.
It is a 2nd down and 10. 9:08. Clock not exactly ticking away, but neither is there all day left in this game. The running backs start out in the set right. Wide receivers are split. 2nd and 10. Eagles on their own 30-yard line, and they need points. Jaworski back. Setting. Looking. Swings the pass to Hogan at the 30. 35. Hogan bounces off a man of the 40, and he is just about a yard shy of the first down. Jaworski took that long drop. He looked over the middle, and Mike Hogan was left unattended. He took the short pass from the flat and found some running room, and he rambled for 9. He's a yard short. Eagles with 3rd and 1. Brad Van Pelt on the stop.
Eagles going to a running offense here. Larry Barnes checking into the game.
Larry Barnes had been on the Cardinals roster. The Eagles picked him up a couple of weeks ago, and right after they suffered their little bighorn against the Cardinals. One running back after another. Larry Barnes joined the team with Yamona at that time. They go with 2 tight ends, and they line up Carmichael as a wing left. Jaworski hands off, and going right up the middle is Mike Hogan, and he crosses the 40 and comes up to the 42 for the first down, and they'll move the chains. 8 minutes remaining in this 4th quarter. The Eagles need points. They trail the Giants 17-6. Harry Carson made the stop right there. Harry Carmichael, or Harry Carson, has been kept very, very occupied in this second half. That has only been his first tackle. The Eagles have done some things to keep him out of that area. 1st and 10. Wide receivers are split. The backs are in a set left. Jaworski to throw. Setting. Looking for Kenny Payne. Incomplete. Flag goes down. Interference, I believe, against the Giants. Interference, I believe, is going to be called on Terry Jackson, who hit Kenny Payne as the ball soared over his head. And right there, a borderline call going in the Eagles' favor.
Not good judgment by Jackson. That would have been a difficult catch under any circumstances for Ken Payne. But Jackson got a little bit over-anxious down there, and I guess reached in from behind with an arm. It gets called for interference here on the Giant 40.
7 minutes and 30 seconds remaining to be played in the 4th quarter. Crowd booing here at Giant Stadium. But they move the football down to the New York 40. And the Eagles try to sustain this drive. Carmichael wide to the far side. Payne to the near side. The backs are set. In an open set. Jaworski taking that long look. He retreats. Looking. Giants almost dump him. He gets it off to Hogan at the 40. Hogan at the 35. Hogan at the 32. And Jaworski did a great job of avoiding the sack as John Mendenhall had grabbed Jaworski. and Jaworski was falling backwards and somehow managed to arm the ball to Mike Hogan, who was the safety valve right there and did the job and picked up 7 yards. Gary Jeter finally made the stop. But a fine job by Ron Jaworski, who showed some real courage right there and found Mike Hogan, who did well, picking up 7 yards. A 2nd down and 3 for the Eagles with the back shifting out of the eye. Campfield to the right. Hogan right behind the quarterback. The wide receivers are split. Handoff inside to Mike Hogan, who comes up to the 30. They throw him back, but he's very close to the first down. Brad Van Pelt makes the stop.
Extremely difficult ball club to get anything going with on the ground, and yet the Eagles persist in trying to find holes up there. Time ticking away, 6:38. The Eagles need at least 2 touchdowns to get ahead of the Giants. They trail 17-6.
They're going to take a timeout, an official timeout right now as they bring in the chains. They will stretch it and see if he does indeed have the first down or if he is just a bit short, which he is. He is maybe 3 inches short. So it is a 3rd down and inches for the Eagles. The ball right outside of the Giants' 30-yard line. 6.5 minutes, a bit more than 6.5 remaining in the 4th quarter. Eagles have got to score a touchdown, hold the Giants, and come back and score another. They need 2 touchdowns. Carmichael goes wide to the far side. Wide to the near side is Payne. The backs in an open set. Jaworski, long count. Back to throw. Pumps once. Looking for Carmichael, who was knocked down, and pass interference will be called against the Giants, Terry Jackson. Carmichael was the intended receiver down at the 15-yard line, and Jaworski threw the ball. He set up the Giants on that 3rd down and short. He faked inside, threw for Carmichael, and Carmichael was tripped up by Terry Jackson. The Eagles have the football down at the Giant 15 with a 1st and 10, a 16-yard gain.
You'll get no argument at all out of Terry Jackson. He knew he was hopelessly beat that time. Harold breaking clear and was about ready to head for the end zone all alone before any safety help could come over. Jackson did the only thing he really could do there. He reached out and tried to tackle Harold, tripped him up, and got called for the penalty.
Carmichael lines up in the slot to the near side. Outside of him is Kenny Payne, the back's in the eye. 1st and 10 for the Eagles. They spot the football on the Giant 14. The back shift out of it. They're in an open set as Jaworski wants to throw. Setting, looking, being chased, fires, completes to Richard Osborne at the 5. Osborne spinning down at the 4. Jaworski running all over the place. Looking deep, looking right, looking left, and finally finding Richard Osborne, the tight end, clearing over the middle, and Osborne comes inside the 5 before Harry Carson and Brian Kelly combine to stop him.
Big catch that time by Richie Osborne. The Giants had a pretty good rush on, 4 men bearing in on Jaworski. The patterns broke down. Ron had to scramble. There was just too much time for all the coverage. Osborne found an opening down the middle and waited there and got the football.
3 catches for Richard Osborne. This is his best day in the NFL. Jaworski lines them up. The Birds with a 1st and goal from the 4. Jaworski, play action, looking, looping the pass for the end zone, and it is out of the end zone. It was complete to Bill Larson, I believe, who was in the game in a double tight end, or Rich Osborne also, but it doesn't make any difference because he was out of the end zone when he came down. The pass was looped into the end zone, and he was about a yard deep. Richard Osborne was back there with Ray Rhodes over him and screening him away, so Osborne went into the air and came down out of bounds beyond the back line of the end zone. So it's a 2nd and goal to go from the 4 as Jaworski was putting it up right there. Let's see what he does this time. Everybody lines up tight. Carmichael on a wing left. The running backs are in an open set. Carmichael flip-flops over to the far side. Now he's in a wing right as Jaworski spins to Campfield, and as Campfield goes down to the 3, the penalty flags fly. It could be that Woody Peoples moved before the snap.
There was a legal procedure on the Eagles that time. That's a 5-yard penalty if the Giants elect to take it. There was no gain on the play, which would set up 3rd and goal from the 4. Let's see what New York elects to do.
Well, the penalty is, as you said, against the Eagles. They are speaking with the Giants right now, having a conversation with John Mendenhall. Everybody is crowding around. And if you're the Giants, what do? You have them step off the penalty and let the Eagles run that play over again, or do you decline the penalty and have them use their down? Offsides against the Eagles. Giants decline. So the Giants do decline, and now the Eagles find themselves in a 3rd down and goal-to-go situation from the 4-yard line. Now Larry Barnes, the big back, comes in. So the backfield will be Hogan and Barnes as Canfield comes out of the game. 3rd down and 4. So we see Jaworski this time on a roll. The backs are split. Everybody else is in tight on 3rd down and 4. Carmichael wing to the left. Osborne strong right. Jaworski on play action. Backing up. Firing for the end zone. Incomplete. Intended for Richard Osborne. The flag goes down. It was intended for Richard Osborne, who held it momentarily and then dropped it in the far corner, but there is a flag down.
I think we're going to get a roughing the passing penalty here against the Giants, despite what the PA announcer says. John Mendenhall, the guy, kind of took a late shot at Ron there as he was unloading that football.
Out of the game comes Larry Barnes, and back in comes Billy Campfield. Now Barnes comes over to the sideline, and he runs back in. He's pointing to Campfield, who stumbles into Carmichael, and then Campfield comes out. So we had Billy Campfield and Larry Barnes switching places, but the thing is, they moved the football. It is a foul against the Giants, and a 1st down and goal to go now for the Eagles. More important than the 2 yards they pick up is the fact that they now have a 1st down and 4 new cracks at it. 1st and goal from the 2. The backs are in a set left. Carmichael in motion. He is a wing left. He stops and wings to the left. Jaworski handing off and cracking off left tackle comes Mike Hogan, and he is down to the 1. The clock continues to run. 5 minutes remaining to be played in the 4th quarter. Eagles trailing the Giants 17-6. Ernie Jones and Otis McKinney in on that last stop. The football inside the 1-yard line as Barnes now comes over to the sidelines and Campfield comes back in. 2nd down and goal to go. Football less than a yard away. Jaworski lines them up. Everybody tight. Hogan to the left. Campfield to the right. Jaworski calling for the football. Turns off to Campfield, and he hits the wall. Doesn't do it. Brian Kelly makes the stop. Billy Campfield tried to go off left tackle, but there was no space. And he never even had the space in which to launch himself. Billy Campfield stopped right at the line of scrimmage. And now it is a 3rd and 1.
And each run knocks off valuable seconds on the clock here. The Eagles, don't forget, need not 1 but 2 touchdowns to take the lead. Giant defense stiffening and playing very well right here, forcing the Eagles to as many plays as possible.
3rd and 1 as Jaworski keeps them back there in the huddle, and Campfield comes out and Barnes comes back in. Troy Archery comes in the ball game, replacing Gary Jeter for the Giants. 4:15 remaining.
Archer limps off, and that stops the clock. The Eagles catch a break there.
Now it starts off with 4:13. The running backs, Barnes to the left. Right behind the quarterback is Mike Hogan. Carmichael again, flip-flops, and he lines up as a wing left. As Jaworski calls, hands off, inside to Mike Hogan, touchdown Eagles. There's another $100 a point from Frito-Lay for the Eagles Fly for Leukemia Fund. So the Eagles score a touchdown right here, and now they trail the Giants 17-12. They will try for the extra point right here, but they are still going to be further than a field goal away from the Giants. Giants leading them 17-12. So even the extra point will not bring them within the field goal. They missed an extra point when they scored at the end of the 1st half. Mickemeyer in to attempt the extra point. It snapped and it's bobbled, and he does not get it off this time. But this time, at this point, it is not a critical factor. Eagles having all kinds of trouble with the snaps this afternoon. But at this point, unlike in the 1st quarter, at this point it already was not a major factor because the Eagles still need that other touchdown, Jim, and even without the extra point, 6 points would win it for them today. There is an injured Eagle. I think it may be Nick Mickemeyer sprawled out as he went after the bad snap. At any rate, there is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants 17, the Eagles 12. Still time left in this 4th quarter, but the Eagles are trailing the Giants 17-12. 3:59 remaining in the 4th quarter. The job is simple. The Eagles defense has to get the ball back for the offense. A couple of Giants 1st downs, and they can put this one in their win column. Eagles defense has to do the job right here.
Nick Mickemeyer, the injured Eagle on the field. That accounts for the delay right now. It's on the 2nd bad snap on a PAT attempt. This time Nick picked it up and was running around back there looking to throw the ball, and as he had his arm up in the passing position, a couple of Giants, including Otis McKinney, wrapped themselves around him I'm almost fearful, Merrill, of like a separated shoulder, an injury to the shoulder, because as he was trying to throw that football someplace, he took a wicked pop.
He is still down, and the trainers are taking a look at Nick. Kicking off in place of Nick will be Mike Michel. Now Mike Michel would be their backup place kicker. He has done that in the past. And both Michel and Mickemeyer practice both things at practice on a daily basis. Mickemeyer is up, and he is coming over to the side with Ozo Davis, so he appears to be okay, but Mike Michel will still be kicking off right now for the Eagles. Bob Hammond is awaiting the kickoff, standing back at his own 10-yard line. Let's see how Michel does on the kickoff. He approaches it. He hits it high and pretty deep as Hammond backs up and takes it at the 2, to the 5, to the 10, to the 15, and up to the 18-yard line. Bob Hammond finally hit and brought down by Eric Johnson. In pluses and minuses today, Jim, I think the Eagles' kickoff coverage team has done a fine job.
Mike Michel showed some strong leg, too. The Giants had 8 people up around the midfield looking for the onside kick, a lot of sure-handed guys, and not too many people deep, obviously. And Mike Michel came through and really drilled that ball and sent Hammond all the way back to the end zone.
3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. The job of the defense is a big one. They have to stop the Giants right here. They have to get the ball back into the hands of Jaworski in the offense. Johnny Outlaw still in at cornerback. He's played the corner the entire second half since Bobby Lee Howard was shaken up. On first down, it's a pass to Robinson in the flat. Robinson across the 25. Robinson up to about the 28 or 29-yard line. Let's see where they spot it. He appeared to be contained at about the 28 or 29, but they say his forward progress was actually to the 30 and a half, and they will give him a first down.
The Giants, as they have all day long, really going after it today. There's a pass on first down when you'd least expect it. 3:50 to go on the clock. All they have to do is grind it away with a little running play action, and all of a sudden they throw the quick pass out to the sidelines to Robinson for a first down.
Eagles are going to take a timeout right here, so they will have 2 more left. 2 more timeouts to space.
I said first down. I beg your pardon. I believe it was about a...
Yeah, he got it.
Did he get the first?
Okay. Jim, how about some scores?
Well, the New York Jets are hanging on 17-16 over the New England Patriots in the fourth period. St. Louis 27, Washington 17. They're in the third. Tampa Bay 24, Buffalo 3 in the fourth. In the snow, we're told, San Diego 13 and Minnesota 7. They're in the third. Dallas 14, New Orleans 7 in the second. Chicago 10, Atlanta 7 in the third. Cleveland 14, Baltimore 10. They're in the second. Seattle leads Kansas City 3-0 in the second period.
A lot of interesting results right there, Jim, but the most important thing to the Eagles, I know a lot of fans, and almost every place you go, people are saying, well, we know it's a long shot at this point, but the Eagles being 6-5, a couple of more wins, and you start talking playoffs, and there are people who are already starting to figure out what happens if this team wins and this team loses and things like that, but it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. They've got to win this game today. They've got to get their 7th win, and right now they have a job to do. The defense has to get the football back. The Giants line up and sweep with Doug Coder on first down, who comes close to the 35-yard line before he is shoved back by Bill Berge and a couple of other guys in on the tackle. But Coder picks up about 3.5 or 4 yards on that carry. That was a first down for the Giants, so that'll bring up a second down and 6. Clock continues to run, and now the Eagles will take their second timeout with 3:29 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Giants are not a fumbling team. They've only fumbled the football 6 times going into this game, and they've been perfect today. The Eagles, by contrast, have fumbled 18 times. So this is one aspect. You're looking for a loose football. The Giants are one of the teams that are least apt to provide that. Exceptional running backs, apparently, and holding on to the football.
Jack Edelstein has communicated with the Eagles people, and they tell us that Mickemeyer has a back injury, and he is out for the game, and he's going to be x-rayed right now. So Nick Mickemeyer with a back injury. Right now, though, the Giants in very good shape. They have 3.5 minutes left in this football game. The Eagles are down to their last timeout as they have taken their second one right here, and the Giants have a lead of 17-12. They have a second down and 5. Eagles defense has to hold right here. Another first down for the Giants, and you can pretty much forget it, barring a miracle. But if the defense can hold this Giants offense on this particular series, Ron and the gang will have another crack. 2nd down and 5. Wide receivers are split. Perkins to the near side. Out to the far side is Jimmy Robinson, who comes in motion out to the near side, but the handoff goes up the middle. Football is fumbled by Coder, and I think the Eagles have it. Eagles have the football. Coder was hit, and the football was recovered by the Eagles. The hit by Dennis Harrison, and jumping on the football is Reggie Wilkes. First down for the Eagles. That's the break they needed.
I never believe that stuff when you start talking about fumbles and interceptions and all of a sudden they happen. You say, hey, I think I jinxed them. But really, that was only the 7th fumble all season long by the New York Giants. They're just a team that doesn't fumble the football. And here they, under a situation where they just can ill afford such a play, the ball is tossed loose. Great play by Dennis Harrison.
But, Jim, we saw a situation not too far from this in Washington where the Eagles made a big recovery. Right now, they have the football, and they have a crack at it. 3:22 remain to be played in the 4th quarter. Eagles with 3 wide receivers. The backs are split. Canfield to the left. Hogan to the right. Jaworski to throw on 1st down. Looking, fires, batted into the air, incomplete, intended for Mike Hogan. Fired to Mike Hogan over on the far side, and Mike Hogan had the ball squirm out of his hands, and it stayed in the air for a precarious second, and it could have been picked off by the Giants right there, and that might have done it. Harry Carson was over there to hit Mike Hogan. Ball went into the air, and it finally fell harmlessly incomplete. But that could have been curtains right there. 3:16 remaining in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 10. Birds break from the huddle. They have the football at the Giants' 34-yard line. Out to the near side is Charlie Smith. To the far side, Payne. Slotted to the far side is Carmichael. Back in an open set. Jaworski, the throw. Setting, looking, flips the pass. Complete to Mike Hogan at the 30. Mike Hogan close to the 25. Mike Hogan will be shy of the 1st down. Brian Kelly makes the stop. But he does pick up a couple right there as Jaworski took a good long read. And then finally, when the time ran out, found Mike Hogan over the middle.
The Giants were giving the Eagles that play. That was the play that Ron Jaworski tried to complete just the play prior to that. The quick outlet, the release to Mike Hogan. The Giant linebackers taking real deep drops on those plays.
3rd down and 3. Eagles reinsert Rich Osborne at tight end, and he lines up strong left. Payne to the near side. Carmichael to the far side. The running backs in an open set. The football at the 26. The handoff goes inside. Billy Canfield goes forward. He loses the football momentarily, but then falls on it. Billy Canfield has the 1st down. As he was hit, he picked up good yardage. The football squirted loose, and I think Jerry Sizemore is the man who sprawls on it.
An unbelievable turning event right there. Canfield with 1st down yardage. The ball pops free. It's up for grabs, and all of a sudden, an Eagle offensive lineman, Jerry Sizemore, with a diving catch right there. One of the great catches of the season, believe me.
What a big break for the Eagles, and they're going to take the 2-minute warning. There is a timeout on the field with the score. The Giants leading the Eagles 17-12. We have 2 minutes left in this 4th quarter, and the Giants are leading the Eagles 17-12. But now, through a strange turn of events, most notably a Giant fumble, the Eagles have the football, and they have driven down. They have the ball inside the Giants 20 at the 19. And the New York crowd starts to chant defense, defense, defense. They need a big play from their guys. Jaworski puts the Eagles from the huddle. 1st and 10. The ball at the 19. Harold Carmichael has been brilliant all afternoon. He lines up wide to the near side. Payne to the far side. The backs in an open set. As Jaworski gives inside to Canfield, and he gets very little. Gets back to the line of scrimmage off right tackle, and maybe another yard, but not much more, as Gary Jeter and George Martin make the stop. Very little yardage right there. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Eagles as they line up without a huddle. Carmichael to the near side. Payne to the far side. The crowd in an uproar. A minute and a half remaining in the 4th quarter as Jaworski wants to throw. Looking, still looking. Fires. Incomplete. Intercepted by the Giants. That should do it. It's intercepted by Otis McKinney, and he goes down at the 20-yard line. The pass was intended for Mike Hogan, who was the last available receiver for the Eagles, and the ball went through or off his hands, and McKinney picked it off for the interception, and that should do it for New York.
I don't know if you can blame Mike Hogan. That ball was thrown exceptionally hard. He was not far away from Ron Jaworski. Ron was scrambling back there. He did not pick up his initial receiver, or maybe the initial receiver was covered, whatever, but he was trying to improvise something, spotted Mike Hogan open, threw a bullet pass, and high a bullet pass. It was almost an impossible ball to catch, and Mike Hogan got two hands on it, knocked it in the air, and McKinney came up with the interception.
The Giants have the football with 1:23, separating them from their 6th win of the season. Shot at evening their record. They're just going to fall on it. Joe Pizarchik falls on the football. There's a fight for the football. A bunch of guys swarming after the football. The Giants did not lose it. Pizarchik, in fact, still has the football, and there are some tempers flaring down there on the field, and it is a very frustrated band of Eagles standing around. Very, very frustrated as they came back from first quarter adversity, and they had a legitimate crack of turning this thing around in the dying 2 minutes. But an interception has pretty much done it for their hopes on this sunny Sunday afternoon in East Rutherford. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for the Giants, but the yardage is not important at this point. The Eagles call their final timeout. 1:11 remaining in the game, and from here on in, Pizarchik can just fall on the football, and there is nothing the Eagles can do.
I'm sure that's what he'll do. If the Giants try any kind of risky handoffs, be very foolish at this point. All they've got to do now is control the ball for 1:11. They have 3 downs to do that. 30 seconds a down. That takes care of your 1:11, or most of it anyway.
Eagles offense had a great shot when they picked up that Doug Coder fumble deep in Giant territory. And they moved it down, and they had the shot, but the pass, the hard pass, as they pointed out, over the middle for Mike Hogan, went off his hands, and it was picked off. Picked off. Big interception for the Giants, and it was Otis McKinney, a high-round draft choice, who has been complaining today, the 2nd-round draft choice for the Giants this year, right behind Gordon King, about not starting. Well, he comes up with a big play right there. Now the Giants with just a couple of plays separating them from their 6th win. 1:11 remaining in the 4th quarter. Pizarchik turns, and he hands off the football, surprisingly, to Larry Zonka, who goes forward up to the 29-yard line. Larry Zonka just pulls his way forward. 53 seconds. 51, 3rd down and 2 for the Giants. Clock continues to tick with 46, 45. Next week, don't forget the Eagles will be in St. Louis, and they'd like to get back at those Cardinals who upset them at the Vet 3 weeks ago. The Giants have a good shot to win at Buffalo. Under 30 seconds left in the game. And Pizarchik fumbles the football. It's picked up by Herman Edwards. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Eagles. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I do not believe what has occurred here, ladies and gentlemen, as Pizarchik came forward, fumbled the football. Charlie Johnson hit him, and Herman Edwards picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. There are no flags on the field, and the crowd is shocked.
Well, as color analyst of this broadcast, I must confess I do not have a single word to add. All I can say to you is Ron Jaworski is laying completely prone on the 45-yard line. I think he passed out.
There is an extra point coming up, but it doesn't mean a thing. There are 20 seconds remaining in this game, and I don't believe it. There's another $100 a point from Frito-Lay for the Eagles Fly for Leukemia Fund, and this stadium is shocked. It is shocked. Mike Michelle in for an extra point. 20 seconds remaining to be played in this football game. See what he does. There's the snap. The kick is up, and this time it's good. I have seen some weird things happen, folks, but what an afternoon. It is 19-17, and this stadium does not believe what they have seen this afternoon, and neither do we. Jack Edelstein calls over and he says, somewhere in Houston, Leonard Toast is listening to this ball game, and there is nobody who gets more wrapped up with the Eagles, and the Eagles are right now 20 seconds from presenting him with a get-well gift. I don't believe this, Jim Barniak.
Move over, Leonard. There's about 50 of us, I think, that are ready to come down and join you. Our hearts can't take this either.
20 seconds remaining to be played in this football game. Now, let me tell you this. The Eagles have to stop the Giants. The Giants will have another couple of cracks at a bomb, and a field goal would win it for them. You remember the Heidi game of years past. You remember some other amazing games. Well, this one fits into the amazing category right here, but it is not sealed up yet. There are 20 seconds remaining to be played in this football game. Mike Michel tees up the football at the 35-yard line, and there are a lot of things that can happen. Michel, poised behind the football. He kicks it off. On the ground, the clock stops. Now it starts. It's picked up at the 15 by Bob Hammond. Runs laterally. He's hit and dropped at the 20-yard line, and the clock ticks down to 15. Eric Johnson makes the stop. Let's pause. 10 seconds for station identification. There are 15 seconds left, and the Giants can still bomb. They can still throw the bomb and hope for a pass interference or any of the things that can occur.
Harold Carmichael on the sidelines, taking over as defensive coordinator, is ordering the entire defense to get about 35 yards downfield and form a line down there.
The Giants bring up the offense. Everybody wide. Robinson to the near side as Pizarczyk looks, flutters the football high in the air, and it is incomplete. That was a perfect case of baby in the air as the pass was floated for Johnny Perkins. There were 3 men around him, and it was Vernon Edwards knocking the football down to the AstroTurf. The play took up 8 seconds. There are now 7 seconds on the clock. Oh, what an afternoon. What an afternoon here at the Meadowlands. An afternoon that started poorly for the Eagles as they gave up 2 first-quarter touchdown passes to the Giants. They came back. They had some hope late in the second quarter. Giants came back. Eagles came back in the third quarter. But then the Giants all but locked it up. Here is Pizarczyk looking again, as all day. Lots of pass downfield, incomplete. And there are no more seconds showing on the clock. That is it. That is it. The gun sounds. Talk about miracles, folks. I do not believe this one, but it has happened as the Eagles beat the Giants 19-17 before a shocked crowd at the Meadowlands.